Chapter 10:17. In fact, after this period of experimentation, everyone realized that the combination of two or more people would produce different effects. For example, when Padya teamed up with someone else, her ward dance spell would bring more benefits than the two-person team on the first level. For example, when Padya teamed up with someone else, her ward dance spell would bring more benefits than the two-person team on the first level. So, they were all trying to cooperate with each other to clear the trial tower. Of course, the benefits of such a combination were also limited. For example, when Harris and Chen Zhao worked together, it was all Chen Zhao's effort. In reality, it was all Chen Zhao's effort. Helly's had been killed instantly on the 4th floor. She had not shown her value at all. This was because the difference in power was too great. It was like a dungeon in a game. Chen Zhao was a high-level player. When he entered a high-level dungeon, the effect of a support player was minimal. Lit Grove started familiarizing himself with the headquarters and the members. In the afternoon, Lit Grove went to the hospital. "Hey Lit, you're here?" Maggie was surprised to see Lit Grove. She didn't think that Lit Grove would come again. After all, Lit Grove had been assigned to be a security guard in the morgue. No matter what, Lit Grove was the young master of a rich family. He wouldn't do this kind of work. What she didn't expect was that Lit Grove would actually appear in the hospital again. "He's not here to resign, is he? This is my internship place. What's so strange about me coming here?" Maggie was very surprised by Lit Grove's answer. She was really curious as to how Chen Zhao had convinced Lit Grove. He actually came here to work obediently. To be honest, if it were her, she definitely wouldn't be able to endure this kind of work. Of course, she was also glad that she didn't offend Chen Zhao. She was very satisfied with her internship. Lepore went to Baroness Hall again. Many sign models had already gathered there. Many of them were famous models. There were even 2 A-list models. They were the kind that had acted in Hollywood movies and acted as vases. This was basically the highest level that a model could reach. There were millions of models in the world, but no more than 20 could reach their level. Everyone wanted to achieve their dream of becoming a star, but the path was too difficult. Just then a few people came in. James was in the lead, and his team followed behind him. All the models' eyes lit up when they saw James. James was now hailed as Steven's successor. The box office of his first movie had already exceeded everyone's expectations. If it weren't for Steven, his movie would have become a new box office record holder. However, even if he was shrouded in Steven's halo, James's achievements still made him an A-list director overnight. So, to be chosen by him was every model's dream. James came to the flowers. In the past, he would sleep with some actresses and arrange 1 or 2 small roles. But now that his status was high, his horizons were also higher. When he looked back at his past, he felt that he was very tasteless. This was the difference in height, and the way of looking at things was also different. Now, he didn't need to go to the unspoken rules. If he really needed a woman, he had too many ways to get her. Of course, this method was also more convenient, easier, and safer than the past. James clapped his hands. "Ladies, I believe you all know about today's mission. Next, we're going to the filming location." "Hello, Mr. James. I'm Tigars." "Hello, Tigars, please go to the bus. We don't have much time." The model called Tigars returned to the line awkwardly. Among the group of models, she was considered a slightly famous supermodel. She had wanted to get to know James. It would be best if they could get to know each other. Unfortunately, James didn't fall for it at all. He had been in Hollywood for decades, so of course he knew Tigars' intentions. Everyone got on the bus, and James chose a seat at random. Behind the bus were 2 cars with props. "Ladies, the location we're shooting this time is a rich man's territory. I hope you can behave yourself and don't offend a rich man." The models thought that they had nothing better to do than to offend a rich man. "Don't break into his home. He and his family don't like people coming in casually," James said. "Of course, we understand. You're all good girls. There will be plenty of opportunities waiting for you in the future, so don't do anything embarrassing." James was warning the coquettish bitches. He knew too well the desire these women had for quality men. If you were targeted by them, they would use all sorts of methods to kill you. Steven had warned him before. He told him to keep an eye on the models. When the motorcade entered Mirror Lake, the girls started chattering. "So beautiful. It's so beautiful. I really want to live here." Mirror Lake was like a piece of emerald blue gemstone. The surface of the lake was calm and tranquil. In the distance, they could see a huge yacht. It was surrounded by emerald green vegetation. The air was fresh, too. When they saw the faintly discernible villa in the distance, the girls became lively again. The motorcade stopped, and James got off first. Behind him was a large group of long-legged beauties. Just then, a huge bear appeared on the side of the road. Before the girls could scream, they saw a baby sitting on the back of the bear. "Stop. Yeah. The baby had two tender front teeth in his mouth. He pointed at James and the others and made incomprehensible sounds. The models all looked at James. James scratched his head. He had seen Jerlin before, but she definitely didn't remember him. "Jerlin, is your dad home?" "Princess, I'm home." Jerlin patted Princess's back. The others didn't understand Jerlin's words, but Princess did. Princess turned around and returned to the house. Everyone's eyes were filled with surprise. The princess and little Jerlin looked like two extremes. But now, they looked so compatible that no one found it strange at all. Just then, the door opened. Phalai carried Jerlin out of the villa. "Hi, Miss Phalai." "Mr. James, hello. I brought people here to shoot a promotional video. Did Mr. Chin tell you about it?" "I know. Stephen told me last time." Phalai nodded. "Where's Mr. Chin?" Chapter 1018. Everyone saw a person swimming on the lake. However, Mirror Lake was too big, and they couldn't see clearly. "Miss Phalai, I'll start filming with the models now. Please forgive us if we've disturbed you." "Of course." Phalai smiled, but she wouldn't be careless. These flirtatious bitches were her main targets. Of course, she still had to be tolerant and generous on the surface. Phalai clapped her hands, and all the pets in the house ran out. James was already used to it. After all, he'd been here once or twice. However, the models behind him paled in fear. "Girls, you'll be filming a promotional video with them later. Familiarize yourself with them first," James said. "Also, who's good at swimming?" "Me. I'm good too. I used to be on the school swimming team." The group of girls all fought to raise their hands. "There's a killer whale in Mirror Lake. Later, you'll choose a girl to dive into the water and face it." James was no stranger to Amon. He'd been an assistant director when they'd filmed Sea Patrol. He had a deep impression of Amon. Amon worked well with the crew too. That was why he wasn't afraid of Amon at all. Instead, he looked forward to reuniting with his old friend. Many people in the crew were also the staff of Sea Police, and they were also looking forward to it. However, when the girls heard that they'd have to go into the water and face a killer whale, they all backed off. Just then, Lepore raised her hand. "Mr. James, I can do it. Anyone else?" The girls all fell silent. No one spoke again. No one wanted to face a monster in the water, even though killer whales were the safest animals in the world. At least for humans, killer whales had almost no record of killing people. Killer whales were also called killer whales in China. In fact, this was a translation error at the beginning, and it wasn't corrected later. "Okay, you go then. What's your name?" "Lepore." The group of girls looked at Raphael coldly. Every group had their infighting, let alone a group of women. There was no peace. They all thought that they were the chosen ones. Of course, they didn't want other women to surpass them. Lepore was an experienced model. Of course, she knew about the infighting in the industry. The girls began to interact with these wild beasts. James gave them 10 minutes to familiarize themselves with each other to avoid any problems during filming. Just then, Chen Zhao swam back to the shore. When Raphael saw Chen Zhao, he was stunned. Lepore didn't expect to see Chen Zhao here. "This is Chen Zhao's home?" Since this was Chen Zhao's home, he should be very rich, right? Why did he still want to be a university professor? The other models all looked at Chen Zhao, instantly attracted by his figure. Chen Zhao's body emitted a wave of masculine hormones. The women couldn't help but lust for him. All the models secretly swallowed their saliva. Just then, Phalai walked over with a towel. "Chun," she whispered into his ear, "did you come here to show off your body because you saw so many girls coming to our house?" Chen Zhao rolled his eyes and kissed Phalai's forehead. "Are you jealous?" "I'm not. I'm pregnant anyway. If you can't hold it in, you can find a few women." If Chen Zhao really believed this, he might as well lose his head. Of course not. Who do you think I am? Chun Zhao touched Fei Lai's hair. Just as Lepore walked up. Teacher. James and the other models all stared at Lepore in shock. Teacher? Lepore was Chun Zhao's student? Chun Zhao turned his head to look at Lepore. Why are you here? Mr. Chun, is she your student? James asked. Yes, I'm her intern teacher, Chun Zhao said. James, do you want to come in for a drink? No, I need to hurry up and get things done, James said, chuckling. He glanced at Lepore from the corner of his eye. It seemed that he had to give her more shots and close-ups. After returning to the house, Chun Zhao took out a bottle of wine. Don't rush. Come and have a few sips. I believe you'll like it. Before Christmas, Chun Zhao had given him a bottle of wine. He knew how good Chun Zhao's wine was. Seeing Chun Zhao come out with the nameless wine, he was instantly addicted. Fei Lai also came out with 2 bottles of wine. Chun, you're only giving it to James. What about the other girls? Sisters, come over. Please treat this as your home for now. Many of the models were experienced drinkers. After all, they attended parties almost every other day. Their alcohol tolerance might even be higher than Chun Zhao's. It's the nameless wine. What nameless wine? You just need to know that one bottle is $300,000. Many of the models gasped in shock. This couple was too rich and extravagant. Treating guests with such wine? And 3 bottles at once? In other words, they treated them with $900,000 worth of wine. Similarly, Raphael did not expect his teacher to be so rich. Perhaps being a university teacher was just his hobby. No wonder he was so familiar with Dell. Before, he thought that Chun Zhao had an ordinary background and was just a university professor. Now, it seemed that he'd underestimated him. Okay, girls, put down your glasses. We're going to start filming. First shot. Lepore, you go first. Change into your bikini. Lepore took off her jacket. She was wearing a bikini underneath. Mr. Chun, let me borrow your boat. We need to go to the middle of Mirror Lake and shoot close-up scenes with him on. No problem. You can use whatever you need. Can I borrow the yacht? Yes. James and the crew boarded Fei Lai on the small boat. Lepore looked at the facilities on Fei Lai and clicked her tongue. This super luxurious yacht probably cost tens of millions of dollars. From afar, she only felt that it was pretty, but only when she actually boarded Fei Lai could she feel how luxurious it was. Prepare the lights. First shot. Walk out of the cabin. Give me some wind. It was the end of January. The cold wind wasn't good at this time, but Lepore was experienced. She wouldn't complain or avoid it. Good, very good. Beautiful. Since it was a promotional video, it had to be as beautiful as possible. Go, go, go. Go to the deck. Jump into the water. Dive, cameraman. Get ready. Dive in together. Chapter 1019. It wasn't like the models had never seen anything more luxurious than Chun Zhao's house. However, Chun Zhao's house wasn't just luxurious. It was surrounded by mountains and rivers. The scenery was pleasant. The entire environment was setting off the house's comfort. All the models looked at Fei Lai enviously. Everything about Chun Zhao was attracting them. Young, rich, strong, and mysterious at the same time. The models couldn't help but want to get close to Chun Zhao. After entering the water, Lepore quickly recovered. She listened to James's order and dove down. Like a mermaid, she swayed her body and her beautiful hair fluttered in the water. She didn't look messy at all. Just then, a huge black shadow appeared in the water. Raphael was startled. The shadow had a terrifying sense of oppression. Lepore was about to escape when James's voice sounded in her earpiece. Don't panic. It's Amon. He's very friendly. Give me your hand. It was a dreamy shot. Lepore had never had such magical contact before. Because of the light underwater, she couldn't see Amon's full face. But even so, she could still feel Amon's huge body. When her palm came into contact with Amon's head, the smooth touch made her forget her fear. Just then, Amon swung his head and tail. A huge current rushed over and pushed Lepore to the surface. Lepore floated up, and the cameraman followed. He gestured at James on the deck. Okay, you can come up now, James said. Change your clothes and do the next shot. Mr. James, do I still have more shots? Don't you need them? No, I'll be happy if you have more. The second shot was next to the house. The other models were all jealous when they saw that Lepore had so many shots. A promo was about 5 minutes long, but there were more than 10 models here. Each model was given less than 30 seconds. Lepore, on the other hand, had almost a minute. It was just to make her look better. The other models seemed to have become supporting characters. But she couldn't help it. She had someone to rely on. Of course, for the promotional video, every model would be assigned a different time according to their ability and fame. They couldn't really split the time equally. It was impossible for Raphael to have a minute to himself. He would definitely shorten the time in the later stages. However, even if it was shortened, Raphael had shot so many scenes that it would definitely take up a lot of time. After the shooting of Lap Hour, it was time for the other models to shoot. There was also the group shot of the models. In front of the camera, the models were as radiant as spring sunshine. Show the best side of yourself. They knew how to present the most beautiful scene in front of the camera. All their gestures were so pleasing to the eye. Darling, do you see that? They're making eyes at you. Those bitches. Feline nestled in Chun Zhao's arms. Chun Zhao shrugged nonchalantly. Why would I like those mediocre girls? You men just like to say one thing and mean another. The shooting of James and the model took the whole afternoon. As the hosts, Chun Zhao and Fei Lai also prepared some food for them. Even under the setting sun, James did not forget to seize the opportunity to shoot a few sets of shots. James, won't you stay for dinner? No, I still have something to do. Smiling, James shook his head. I've taken up the whole afternoon. I should go too. Okay, be careful on the way. Chun, do you want to make a guest appearance in my new movie? I'll go if I have time. Chun Zhao hugged James. Goodbye. The models gathered behind James, their eyes filled with envy. It was impossible for them to even appear in a scene in James' movie. However, Chun Zhao could receive James' invitation. That was the difference between people. The bus slowly drove away from the mansion. A model asked boldly, Mr. James, do you have a new movie to shoot? Yes, James answered indifferently. I'm still casting. The model's eyes lit up. Mr. James, do you need us for anything? I'm not sure yet. The script isn't out yet. James would not agree easily. James glanced at Raphael again. Raphael, on the other hand, was a little distracted and didn't notice James' eyes. Mr. James, what does that Mr. Chin do? Is he also in Hollywood? No, he's a university professor, James said. Did you forget? He's Lepore's teacher. But he seems to be very rich. What's wrong with a capable person having money? James said matter-of-factly. A capable person having money. This was the logic of society. Lapauer, are you interested in acting in my movie? Raphael was stunned for a moment, and all the models in the bus gasped. The atmosphere became quiet in an instant. Everyone's mouths were agape as they looked at James in disbelief. They did not expect James to invite Lapauer so actively. Even Lapauer did not expect it herself. But why? I'm not famous at all, and I've never filmed any roles before. I'm afraid. I can't do it. Then you better find an actor training class, James said. James said, my movie will start shooting in 3 months. I will reserve a main role for you. Because of my teacher? Lapauer asked hesitantly. Of course. I owe your teacher a huge favor, James said seriously. But will the investor allow it? It was not that Lapauer doubted James' ability, but in Hollywood, not everyone had the right to decide on a role. Even the director had no right to decide on a main role alone, unless it was someone as famous as Steven. No matter how successful James was, he was only a new director, or even a young one. The investor is PLM, and the CEO of PLM is a good friend of your teacher. If your teacher asks for it, he can even get the female lead, let alone the main role. The other models gasped once again as they looked at Raphael with hatred in their eyes. It would be great if they could have this opportunity. Even if they knew that even without Lapauer, this opportunity would not fall on their heads. But they still could not help but envy and hate Lapauer. Chapter 10:20. Hello. Ever since Fei Lai got pregnant, her Chinese had improved by leaps and bounds. After all, she had a lot of time to learn Chinese. She also requested Chun Zhao to communicate with her in Chinese every day. Fei Lai, your Chinese has improved a lot. Darling, you should talk to me in Chinese, Fei Lai said angrily. Fei Lai had only mastered the basic Mandarin for daily communication. She was still far from being good at it. Fei Lai, I'll give you a Chinese question. Let's see if you can understand it. Okay, go ahead. Wear as much as you can in the winter and as much as you can in the summer, Chun Zhao said. Do you understand these two sentences? Fei Lai scratched her head. She couldn't even speak the sentence smoothly, let alone understand it. Then the question is, what's the difference between these two sentences? I don't know. Let's change to something simpler. Okay, let's change to something simpler. What's the difference between someone who used to like someone and then like someone else? So complicated, then I'll change to something else. Chun Zhao had been playing for the whole morning. Fei Lai started doubting her own Chinese. He could understand Mandarin when it was separated, but why couldn't he understand what it meant when it was put together? Chun, it's almost Chinese New Year, right? Fei Lai asked. It was already the end of January. In a few days, it would be New Year's Eve. Yes. You want a family reunion during New Year? Yes. Do you want me, your mother, and your sister to celebrate the holiday together? Forget it. Chun Zhao touched Fei Lai's hair. They were related by blood, but their relationship was too weak. Okay. Fei Lai had her own thoughts. I'll go out in the afternoon, Chun Zhao said. He didn't want to continue talking about this. He planned to hide outside for a while. In the afternoon, Chun Zhao received Kareem's call before he left. Chun, Mr. Laurent and the boss are going to LA in a few days. I think they're going to your place to celebrate with you. Chun Zhao was dumbfounded. That old bastard was coming again? It was definitely Fei Lai who called him. She probably thought that she was in a foreign country and it was a holiday. If she didn't have anyone to celebrate with, she might feel lonely. That was why she'd called her family over to celebrate with him. But Chun Zhao really didn't need it. He wasn't that pretentious. If only when Ip came, he'd welcome her warmly. But Laurent was coming too, so he couldn't even have a happy spring festival. No, definitely not. It would be a disaster if she and Chun Zhao came. I need to think of a way to deal with this old bastard. Chun had to think about dealing with him. Chun Wang of and Chun. In that case, he must be thinking of how to deal with him now. Kareem, has that old bastard Laurent already started his plan? Okay. And Lao, and Chun, and God, and then Kareem broke out in a cold sweat. Every time Chun Zhao and Laurent schemed against each other, they crossed the line. They didn't want to get involved. They didn't do anything, but they got involved every time. Kareem finally told Chun Zhao everything about Laurent's plan. That old asterisk shoal is so troublesome. But since Laurent had made his move, Kareem couldn't fall behind. While driving, Chun Zhao called West. West, I need you to arrange something for me. Suddenly, a police car approached Chun Zhao's car. Sharon was in the car, gesturing at Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao could only pull over. Darling, what did I do? Chun Zhao looked at Sharon helplessly. Talking on the phone while driving is against the traffic rules. Chun Zhao was speechless. Have you been following me since I left the house? I saw your car just now, so I thought I would get something. As I expected, this is your ticket. How about we go for a drink? Chun Zhao invited. Sure. There's a cafe up ahead. The two went to the cafe and drank coffee by the roadside. There weren't many people in the afternoon. Chun Zhao and Sharon were the only ones in the outdoor seats. Are you very free? Chun Zhao asked. How much work do you think the traffic police have? Sharon sipped her coffee, depressed. Aren't you rich? Why do you need to be a police officer? Chun Zhao remembered that Sharon's private car was a sports car. Coincidentally, Chun Zhao recognized the brand. It was a famous sports car manufacturer. Sharon's sports car was 20 times more expensive than the Aston Martin he'd bought for Fei Lai. Aren't you rich too? But you're not a professor at UCLA. Sharon rolled her eyes. Since you want to be a police officer so much, why don't you spend some money and transfer yourself to another force? It shouldn't be hard for you, right? I'm not as rich as my father. He bribed the police chief long ago. Every time David wants to transfer me to his major crimes division, the chief will transfer me back to the traffic team. I've been working part-time as an assassin recently. Hire me. I'll kill your father, and you'll get what you want. You'll also get a huge inheritance. Just because of what you said, I can arrest you. Just then, Chen Zhao saw a sexy beauty lying on the ground nearby. She seemed to be looking for something. The woman was wearing a dress, so when she knelt on the ground, her thighs were faintly discernible. Chen Zhao couldn't even move his eyes away. He stood up and walked over. "Hi, miss, what are you doing?" The woman lifted her head. It was a face that could charm all living things. "Hi, sir. I'm looking for my diamond ring. My fiancé gave it to me." The woman's face was filled with anxiety. "Sir, if you can help me find the diamond ring, I'm willing to pay you $20,000. This is my phone number and my address. After you find it, can you mail the diamond ring to this address for me?" The woman looked at her watch again and said, "My flight is at 3 o'clock. I'm going to the airport now. Sir, if you can help me find the diamond ring, I'm willing to pay you $20,000. The woman's face was filled with pleading. Smiling, Chen Zhao said, "Of course. I'd be happy to work for a beauty like you." With that, the woman hurriedly boarded a sports car on the side of the road and drove away. Chen Zhao looked at the high-end business card in his hand. It was really high-end. At this moment, a girl walked over and bent down to pick something up. Chen Zhao saw the girl pick up a diamond ring. Chapter 10:21. You said it's yours? How can you say it's yours? The girl immediately hid the diamond ring in her pocket and stared at Chen Zhao with a cautious expression. "It's really mine. I don't care if it's yours or not. I picked it up, so it's mine. Tell me, what do I have to do for you to give it back to me?" $3,000, the girl said solemnly. "If you're willing to pay $3,000, I'll give it back to you." Chen Zhao took out his wallet and handed $3,000 to the girl. The girl was about to take the money, but she didn't. "You're going back on your word?" "Diamond ring." The girl stuffed the ring into Chen Zhao's hand. Only then did Chen Zhao let go of the money. The girl skipped away. Sharon had seen everything from start to finish. Smiling, Chen Zhao returned to his seat. "It's for you." Furrowing her brows, Sharon asked curiously, "You knew you were tricked? Then why did you give them the money?" "It's just in the movies," Chen Zhao said, unconcerned. "What are you planning?" Sharon looked at Chen Zhao in confusion. She didn't understand. Since Chen Zhao could tell it was a scam, why did he still jump in? The girl turned 2 corners and found her partner's car. She got into her partner's car, and the beauty asked, "Risa, did you get it?" Risa waved the cash in her hand. "Yes, it was too easy. 2,000 for me and 1,000 for you." "Jesse, why do you have 2,000 and I only have 1,000? Why don't we split it?" "That's not fair," Risa said unhappily. "Because I'm irreplaceable, but anyone can play your role." Jesse smoothed his hair and held his chest at the same time. "This determines our distribution ratio." "Fine." Risa looked at Jesse's impressive chest size enviously. Just then, a business car stopped beside them, and a few men in black alighted. The men in black took the 2 of them out of the sports car without saying a word. Then they dragged them into the business car. The 2 girls screamed, but it was useless. "If you can't keep quiet, you'll be quiet forever." The 2 of them saw a tall woman playing with a pistol in front of them. The 2 women immediately quieted down. "Who are you people? What do you want?" "You've provoked someone you shouldn't have," the tall woman said coldly. "What are you talking about? I don't understand." Both Jesse and Rissa were going to play dumb. "You don't need to understand." Along the way, the 2 of them racked their brains to think of a way to escape. But these people all had guns, and they were outnumbered. There were only 2 women, and Risa was only 14 years old. In this situation where they were surrounded by a pack of wolves, it was impossible for them to escape even if they had heaven-defying means. After driving for half an hour, the car finally stopped. The 2 of them got out of the car with trepidation. Just at this moment, a terrified cry came from afar. The 2 of them looked over and saw a man locked in a cage. There was also a huge bear in the cage. There was another person standing outside the cage. Both of them recognized that it was the Asian that they had deceived earlier. "Let me out! Let me out!" The man in the cage screamed in pain, but it was accompanied by a bear's roar. The bear pounced on the man. The 2 women saw blood and flesh splatter everywhere. The bear was eating the man in the cage. The 2 women's faces paled in fear. Gaia pushed Jesse from behind. "Don't stop. Go." Just then, Chen Zhao turned around and walked toward the two women. When he saw Lisa and Jessie, he even waved at them warmly. "Hi, honey, we meet again." The two women's faces paled in fear. Who was this Asian? Who was the man in the cage? What did they want to do? "Sir, I'm really sorry for what happened just now." "Don't say sorry to me," Chen Zhao interrupted Jessie. Chen Zhao interrupted Jessie. "I don't need to hear the word sorry. You've hurt me. You've caused severe trauma to my heart. What do you want us to do?" Chen Zhao pointed at the cage not far away. "Do you know why it's so big?" The two women looked at the huge bear that was eating the body and shook their heads instinctively. "Because it eats people," Chen Zhao said. "Human meat seems to stimulate the bear's growth. Maybe it's because humans eat fast food for a long time. There's a lot of hormones in it, so it has an effect on the bear. You must be curious about how many people it has eaten, right?" Who the hell wants to know, they thought. The two women were about to pee their pants. They had never seen such a terrifying thing. Feeding people to bears. "Let's talk inside." Chen Zhao warmly invited the two women into the headquarters, but their feet seemed to be rooted to the ground. They wouldn't move a single step. Chen Zhao looked at the two women. "Or, do you want to go into the cage, and we can talk through the cage?" The two women immediately moved and followed Chen Zhao. At this moment, two black-clothed men dragged a girl over. The girl looked to be about 16 or 17 years old. She cried and screamed. "Sir, let me go, let me go. I was wrong, I know I was wrong. I only took goods worth less than $1,000. I'll make up for my mistake. Don't kill me." Chen Zhao moved away and waved his hand in disgust. "Put her in the cage." Under Risa and Jessie's gaze, the girl was sent into the cage. "Do you want to see her get eaten?" The two women were even more terrified. Their bodies stiffened. They turned their heads, not daring to look at the cage in the distance. But the sound still came. It was a desperate and heart-wrenching scream. Just then, Wes came to Chen Zhao's side. "Sir, Princess seems to be too full." "Really? You're lucky." Chen Zhao looked at the two. "You can live one more day." Risa and Jessie didn't know if they should be happy or desperate. In a direction they couldn't see, Helis and Jalag were coming out of the cage. Princess came out with them. Chen Zhao brought Risa and Jessie into the living room and sat on the sofa. "You two sit too." The two women didn't dare to sit. They stood before Chen Zhao, trembling. Just then, Henry walked over with a tray. He seemed very nervous too. The tray in his hand fell to the ground. Henry paled in fear. "Sir, I'm sorry." "No need to be sorry." Chen Zhao smiled. The two men in black walked up and dragged Henry out. Chapter 10:22. Risa and Jessie trembled in fear. In such a short time, Chen Zhao had already killed 3 people in front of them. After Henry was dragged out of the headquarters, Klaus pushed Henry. "Shout louder. If they find out, you'll really be fed to the bears." That's not tragic enough. Do you know what it means to be heartbroken? Do you really want to get closer to the princess? In the living room, Chen Zhao crossed his legs. Risa and Jessie stood before Chen Zhao, trembling. "I told you to sit. Don't you understand? Do you think that my pet is full? That they can't eat you?" Risa was already crying. Chen Zhao glared at her. "Gouge out the eyeball that's crying." Risa immediately stopped crying. This ferocious man brought them incomparable terror. The servants here only dropped the trays on the ground and dragged them out to feed the bears. They'd never seen such a terrifying person. This man was a demon. "Do you have anything to say to me?" The two glanced at each other and hesitated. "Nothing?" Chen Zhao stood up and said to the two men in black beside him, "Make arrangements tomorrow. The small one will be at the princess breakfast, and the big one will be at the princess lunch." "Yes, sir." The two trembled in fear. Jessie hurriedly said, "I have something to say. I have something to say." "Don't go. I have something to say. Someone hired us to trick you. You should go and find the person who hired us." Chen Zhao turned around and looked at the two. "How did he hire you?" "An agent." "You scammers have an agent?" Chen Zhao found it funny. "It's just an introduction from an acquaintance, not a professional agent." "Then how did he hire you?" "He offered us $5,000 to trick you out of your money." Chen Zhao cursed inwardly. They'd actually spent $5,000 to trick him out of $3,000. Apart from that old bastard Laurent, no one else would do such a stupid thing. Chun Zhao was filled with hatred. He'd come to Los Angeles this time. If he didn't make him go back to Sacramento, his surname wouldn't be Chun. Do you want to live or die? Chun Zhao asked. Live. Any normal person would know what to choose. The two of them were no exception. Just imagine the scene of being torn to pieces by that giant bear. They shuddered. Give me 3 collars, Chun Zhao said to the man beside him. Not long after, the black-clothed man returned with a small collar. Put it on your hand. The two of them looked at the collar, not knowing what it was for. Looking at the two, Chun Zhao said to the man beside him, show them how to use this collar. The man in black threw the collar on the ground and pressed the remote control. Bang, the heat wave hit their faces, and Lisa and Jesse were scared into a cold sweat. Looking at the collar on his hand, his face turned pale. I'm sure you understand your situation now. Chun Zhao smiled at the two girls. The two girls nodded. Chun Zhao stood up. It's good that you understand. Be good and don't try to escape or disobey my orders. After all, my pets don't like cooked food. Sacramento Airport. Ever since Sacramento gained the reputation of being the city of wine, the passenger flow at Sacramento Airport had skyrocketed by 10 times. Winnip, Laurent, Kane, Howard, and Kareem were waiting to board the plane. Mr. Laurent, I think we should give up on this plan. Kareem tried to persuade Laurent. No, I have to carry out this plan. Mr. Laurent, why? We've never won. It's not about winning or losing. It's about dignity, Laurent said seriously. Laurent said solemnly. It's because we've never won before that we must regain our dignity. Kareem, Howard, and Kane all covered their faces. That's your dignity, but don't drag us down with you. Don't worry, Laurent said confidently. I'll make him lose all face this time. Our plan is perfect. The three of them sighed. Laurent still didn't know that they'd already become traitors. However, Chun Zhao had already seen through his plan. They didn't want to be tortured by him, so joining him was the safest choice. What are you guys doing? Our plane's here. It's time to board. Winnip looked back at the four. After arriving at the airport, the four of them had been talking about something. They boarded the plane to Los Angeles. They were still in first class. Kareem, lend me your phone, Kane said. Don't you have your own phone? Kareem was playing with his phone. He looked up at Kane lazily. My phone's out of battery, Kane said, holding his phone. Borrow it from Howard. Don't borrow it from me. Howard was also playing with his phone. Before Kane could say anything, he took the initiative to block Kane's request. Mr. Laurent, lend me your phone. What are you doing? Give my new girl a call. Laurent passed his phone to Kane on the other side of the aisle. Just then a message came. Mr. Laurent, you have a voice message. Oh, open it, Laurent said. Laurent, I have something to tell you. Kane opened the voice message. Laurent, I have something to tell you. You and I have 2 daughters. Their names are Jessie and Lisa. They are 25 and 14 years old, respectively. I'm sorry I didn't tell you this. I wanted to keep it a secret, but I had to tell you because Lisa has leukemia. She needs your bone marrow transplant. Don't worry, I won't destroy your family, and I won't let a third person know about this. Love, Pamela. Kane opened the voice message and said, Laurent, I have something to tell you. Everyone's expression froze. They turned to look at Laurent. A murderous glint shot out of Winnip's eyes. Laurent, I need you to explain to me what happened to Pamela. Pamela? How? How is she still alive? Laurent's face was filled with shock. Winnip's face turned even paler. Not only did Laurent not explain his relationship with Pamela, he even cared about her life and death. This meant that Laurent was tacitly admitting his relationship with Pamela. Winnip knew about Laurent's past and also knew Pamela. But she thought that Laurent and Pamela hadn't contacted each other for more than 20 years. She had almost forgotten this name. But now, she heard this name again. It seemed like Laurent and Pamela hadn't stopped contacting each other. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hidden 2 illegitimate daughters from her. Wait, Winnip, that's impossible. Pamela can't still be alive. She's been dead for more than a decade. So you're saying this isn't Pamela's voice? I remember Pamela. This is Pamela's voice. Chapter 10:23. Winnip couldn't do anything on the plane, but after getting off, her expression darkened. Laurent, tell me, what's going on with Pamela? I can't have any daughters other than Phalai and Four. This is a prank. I said it's a prank. Then what's with the voice? I said it's a prank. Pamela's been dead for 12 years. But this voice is Pamela's, right? The voice is similar, but it's definitely not Pamela. It can't be her, Laurent explained bitterly. Chen also knows about Pamela's death. Are you serious? Yes. Winnip picked up her phone and called Chun Zhao. Hi, Chen, it's me, Winnip. Hi, Winnip. Have you and Laurent arrived in L.A.? I'm at the airport now. Do you know someone called Pamela? Chun Zhao was silent for a while. Then he said, no. Chun, I want you to answer my question honestly. Do you know Pamela or not? Is Laurent beside you? No. Laurent was dumbfounded. He immediately understood what was going on. It had to be Chun Zhao. It had to be Chun Zhao. He knew about Pamela's existence and that she'd already passed away. This was a trap he'd set. Just then, Chun Zhao continued, Laurent didn't want me to tell you. Last time he came to L.A., he went with me to find this woman called Pamela. Did something happen between them? I don't know. I didn't see that woman. Asterisk Shoal? You Asterisk Shoal? You're slandering me. Laurent, are you there? Sorry, I can't keep it a secret for you. You Asterisk Shoal. Laurent yelled in exasperation. I received another video after the incident. Winnip, do you want it? Send it to me. A while later, Winnip received a video. Winnip opened it. The background was the hospital. In the ICU, a girl was lying on the bed with a tube in her mouth. As everyone knew, as long as one entered the ICU, the mortality rate was more than 95%. That place was the Real Gate to hell. Many patients would rather die than lie in the ICU. The ICU was the intensive care unit. The patient was stripped naked, unable to move, speak, or even breathe. Only the brain was still functioning. It was a very painful process. Then Winnip entered the camera. Winnip said to the camera, Laurent, I know you have a happy family now. I don't want to destroy your family, but please, for our relationship, save our child. She needs a bone marrow transplant right now. That's right, Winnip said. Lawrence's face was pale. No amount of explanation could compare to Pamela appearing in front of the camera. He couldn't even deny that it wasn't Pamela. I'm divorcing you, you bastard. Winnip turned and left angrily. Winnip, listen to me. Listen to me. Laurent hurriedly chased after her in fear. Just then, Laurence's phone rang. Laurent picked it up. Chun Zhao, you bastard, you bastard. Laurent, you asked for this. I prepared a lot of plots for you. I admit defeat, okay? Let me go. Laurent finally gave in. He wanted to cry, but had no tears. He could only beg Chun Zhao. Only Chun Zhao could explain it for him now. You promise you won't give me any more trouble in L.A.? Yes, I promise you, I won't give you any trouble, Laurent hurriedly said. Good boy. When Chun Zhao hung up, Winnip walked toward him. Winnip's face was green. Chun Zhao walked up with a smile. But Winnip slapped him. You went too far this time. You know? Chun Zhao covered his face, embarrassed. Pamela passed away more than 10 years ago. I just happened to know about it. Fine. Chun Zhao shrugged helplessly. He tricked Laurent and got slapped. What a loss. What's with that video? That actress, Chun Zhao said. Didn't you notice that the light in the camera was really dim? But it's really interesting to torment Laurent like this. Don't expose me yet. Winnip was also a female demon. Chun Zhao had been worried that things would backfire, and they'd really get a divorce. Chun Zhao hated Laurent, but there was no hiding the truth. If things really backfired and they got a divorce, Chun Zhao was afraid that Phalai would really turn against him. So, Chun Zhao planned to expose her as soon as possible. In the end, Winnip volunteered to hide it, so she could continue tormenting Laurent. How did you find such a similar actress? Even her voice is so similar. You know, I know many Hollywood crews. With makeup and voice processing, it's not that difficult. But you don't even know a woman who died more than 10 years ago. How do you know her voice? This is more complicated. In Hollywood, there's a technique called recognition blurring. When people see images, their first impression is to produce the person's voice. Then, they use a neutral voice processing method. This will cause the voice you hear to automatically associate with the person's appearance. Anyway, it's quite complicated. How long have you been planning this? Not long. I just heard from Kareem that Lauren's starting to scheme against me again, so I started to retaliate. Winnip knew that Chinzhao and Lauren didn't get along. However, she didn't pay any attention to them. They could do whatever they wanted to. Chinzhao told him everything that had happened. Winnip was completely speechless. Both Lauren and Chinzhao were losing their bottom lines more and more. Let's go back first. Chinzhao was quite depressed too, but he was quite confident in his arrangements. In the end, he still couldn't hide it from Winnip. But this was good too. Things wouldn't really get out of hand. Plus, his original intention was to torment Lauren. Aren't we going to wait for Lauren? Wait for him for what? You want to let him go so quickly? Winnip glared at Chinzhao. When they got home, Feilai ran out happily. Mom, you're here. Hey, where's Dad? He's busy tonight. He's staying at the hotel, Winnip said. Why is he staying at the hotel? It's not like we don't have enough rooms. Because it's far from the city. Don't worry about him. Chinzhao now knew why Winnip had such a tight control over Lauren. Chapter 10:24. Ah, is this little Jerlin? When Winnip saw Jerlin, her motherly love overflowed. Winnip was also full of love for little Jerlin. His chubby little face and mouth were moist as he staggered as he ran. Because the temperature had dropped a lot in the past 2 days, Jerlin was dressed like a little ball. Jerlin called Winnip, but she couldn't speak clearly, so Winnip couldn't understand. What's she saying? She's speaking Chinese, Grandma, Feilai said, smiling. Winnip loved Jerlin very much. She hugged and kissed her. Grandma? Jerlin didn't know Winnip, but that was what she called the older ones. She was more familiar with how elders addressed each other now. She would call them that whenever she was free. Just then, Chinzhao's phone rang. I'll go out and take it. Chinzhao stood up and walked out. Lauren's urgent voice came from the other end. Chun, did you explain to Winnip? Not yet. When? What's the rush? No rush. This can't be rushed. Bullshit. Of course you're not rushed. Now Winnip wants to divorce me, you asterisk shoal. I think you provoked me first. Explain to Winnip immediately. How would I know? Chinzhao said unhurriedly. You won't go back on your words after I explain. I swear. You sound like you didn't swear, but I don't see God punishing you. What exactly do you want? I'll explain for you on the day you leave. How can I do that? What if Winnip wants to divorce me before that? No. Even if she wants to divorce you, she'll only divorce you after you leave. Not in L.A. After all, Feilai and Fu are both here. You asterisk shoal, you're too much this time? You sound like you're not. Chun, I'm begging you. Help me explain to Winnip. I said, no rush. If you don't explain to me, I'll report you to Feilai. If you tell Feilai, I have an even worse plan waiting for you, Chinzhao threatened. Chinzhao was in a great mood. The more anxious Lauren was, the happier he was. Of course, they all abided by a principle. They wouldn't report their fight to Feilai. The next day, Chinzhao happily went to the hotel where Lauren was staying. When Chinzhao pushed open the door, he smelled alcohol. Noticing Chinzhao's arrival, Lauren pounced at him with a strange cry. You bastard, you still dare to come? Chinzhao dodged Lauren's attack. If you keep this up, I'll leave. Lauren sat on the ground and began to cry like a child. You bastard, you've caused me so much trouble. Have you had breakfast? Wait for me. I'll go wash up. Lauren took a shower, changed his clothes, and felt much more refreshed. The two went to the hotel restaurant. Lauren sat across from Chinzhao and kept looking at him. Chin, what's with that video? That voice and that video, what's going on? Would you believe me if I said it was real? Bullshit, Pamela is dead. Then why do you still ask? You know she's dead, but you still want to get to the bottom of it. Are you still hoping that Pamela is still alive? But what? Do you want to hear that Pamela isn't dead? She's already dead. You already know that. Lauren had seen Pamela's soul before, but then he'd fainted. Lauren couldn't tell if he'd really seen her in a dream. This was what Lauren was most conflicted about. Where did you find someone so similar? Even the voice is so similar. Makeup. What's so hard about that? Speaking of this, Laurent started to blame Chen Zhao again. I don't care. Call Winip now and explain everything to her. No. Then I'll call Fei Lai. Fei Lai's already 4 months pregnant. If she finds out that you're divorcing Winip, aren't you afraid something will happen? You bastard. Laurent gritted his teeth at Chen Zhao. You always provoke me first. You can't blame me. What about the 2 daughters you prepared for me? What about the little girl in the ICU? What? You're starting to care about them? Does that girl really have leukemia? No, she's faking it. You're such a bastard. You should thank me. I arranged for that eldest daughter of yours that you've never met to be at the airport. If she appeared, you'd probably be killed by Winip. Laurent shuddered. This bastard was really ruthless. I'm leaving. You're leaving just like that? What else? I'm taking you to LA to play? Are you in the mood to play now? Fuck. You haven't paid yet. Chen Zhao went to the headquarters of the association. Lisa and Jesse had been locked in their room for the past 2 days. They'd been very uneasy. They didn't know what fate awaited them. Would he be silenced after he was done with using him? At this moment, the door to the room was opened. The 2 girls were like birds startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. They looked at Chen Zhao in fear. You can go now, Chen Zhao said. After using them, it was about time to let them go. However, Chen Zhao's words were like a clap of thunder in their ears. Don't kill us. Don't kill us. We still have value, the 2 girls cried. They felt that Chen Zhao was going to kill them. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Their imaginations were really wild, but he definitely couldn't explain now, because a person in despair would not listen to an explanation. Fine. You said you still have value, so I'll keep you alive for now, Chen Zhao said. You can't leave Los Angeles without my permission. The bracelet on your wrist should remind you of your situation at all times. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, the 2 were not sad. Instead, they were overjoyed. Chen Zhao's answer was that they'd found a chance. It was better to be used and controlled than to die. Chen Zhao sent the 2 to the door. You can go now. The 2 girls looked at each other and stood there. What? Do we need a ride? How do we go back? We don't know the way. Follow this road. You'll see the road to the city in 20 kilometers. When they heard that it was 20 kilometers, their faces paled. Chapter 10:25. Hey, wait a minute. The 2 froze in fear and didn't dare to turn their heads. You called. Relieved, they took their phones and ran away from the headquarters as if they were running for their lives. Lisa and Jesse both felt like they had survived a disaster. Just then, Lisa's phone rang. Lisa, where are you? Do you know how much trouble you've caused me in the past few days when you were missing? A woman's angry voice came from the other end of the phone. It was full of anger. Teacher, I'm sorry, Lisa said in a low voice. His originally angry tone suddenly became gentle. Where are you now? I'm on my way back to school. Where are you? I'll pick you up. No, I'll be quick. Where are you? The woman repeated for the 3rd time. I don't know, but I'm walking back to the city, Lisa said. Send me your location. I'll pick you up now. My phone is broken. Lisa didn't want her teacher to pick her up. It was too close to that place. Lisa felt that she might not be out of danger now, so she didn't want her teacher to take risks. When can you come back? About 4 hours. Okay, I'll prepare dinner for you. After Lisa hung up, Jesse said, Is it that annoying woman? I really don't understand. What's so good about her? Isn't it good to follow me? We can make a lot of money and then go wherever we want. And then meet someone like that Asian again? Lisa glanced at Jesse and said sarcastically, It was just an accident. We've worked together dozens of times, and we've never met someone like that before. As long as we're careful, we won't encounter such an unlucky thing again, Jesse said. I don't want to live in fear anymore, Lisa said. You don't want to live again? Do you think you have the right to refuse? Jesse sneered. The bracelets on our hands are still there. We'll always be controlled by that person. Lisa looked at her bracelet. In the end, it's just a remote-controlled bomb. There's always a way to remove it. Even if you remove the bracelet, you can't stay in Los Angeles anymore. You have to leave this city, so you need a lot of money. How can you leave Los Angeles without money? If you continue to live in that woman's house, you will only bring trouble to her family. Jesse said, Think about it. If that Chinese man sees that woman, what do you think will happen to her? Lisa's face became more and more serious. Although Jesse was a liar and cunning by nature, she was right. If he continued to stay by his teacher's side, he would only bring her more trouble. However, if he were to leave, he would need money, a huge sum of money. Do you have any ideas? A way to get a lot of money in a short time? Reisa asked. What can I do? Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Relying on scams to swindle money was too slow. Lisa began to use her brain, and her thoughts were running at a high speed. Robbing is still the fastest way to get money, Jesse said uninterestedly. An idea suddenly flashed in Reisa's mind. Yes, robbing. Don't be kidding. If the two of us rob, we will only be shot to death, Jesse said. Then find a safe way to rob, Reisa said. Are you serious? Of course I'm serious. Don't you want to participate? It doesn't matter. I could do it alone anyway. Tell me, what are you going to do? Jesse couldn't resist the temptation again and took the initiative to ask. I need a computer, Reisa said, looking at Jesse. Jesse gritted his teeth. How much? As long as it's the highest configuration for civilian use. Obviously, Reisa wanted Jesse to pay for it. Jesse hesitated for a while. You have to tell me what your plan is first, or I won't pay for it. Norton Simon Museum, Reisa said. The exhibits inside are more than $3 billion. We don't need to take all of them. We just need to take an exhibit worth about $1 million. Don't be kidding. That's a national museum. It's impossible to break through the security inside, Jesse said, rolling his eyes. No, there is a way, Reisa said. The exhibits in the Norton Simon Museum are divided into 5 levels. The first level is for exhibits worth more than $10 million. The second level is for exhibits worth less than $10 million and more than $1 million. The third level is between $100,000 and $1 million. This is also our goal. And then, you help me buy a computer, and I'll tell you my plan. You're not lying to me? Do I need to lie to you? I need money, not for a computer. I need a computer to get more money. How much does the computer cost? At least $10,000, Reisa said. So, expensive? I don't have that much money. You do. We made a lot of money in the past. You can afford it. No, I really don't. You know how I spend money. Every time I make money, I spend it immediately instead of saving it in the bank. You have money, Reisa said. Reisa said, I know you've always had a reserve fund that you can use when you need it. You little monster are so annoying, Jesse said, looking at Reisa. Although Reisa was not an adult yet, she had a high IQ. This was why they cooperated in the first place. If you want to rob the Norton Simon Museum, wouldn't it be better to rob as expensive as possible? The more things, the better. Do you have such a wide network of people? If we take out millions of dollars or even tens of millions of dollars, I'm afraid that the first person to kill us will be the person who sells the stolen goods. $1 million or so is the safest number. The person who sells the stolen goods needs to protect their reputation. $1 million is not enough for them to abandon their credibility. Besides, I've already said that the collections in the Norton Simon Museum are divided into different levels. The higher the level, the harder it is to break into. With our strength, we can't steal the more valuable exhibits. When do we start this plan? First of all, you have to get the computer. You better not buy old goods to save money. That will kill us. Also, we have to take off the bracelet on our hands before we start. Chapter 10:26. Lisa returned home. To be exact, it was her teacher's house. Just then, her teacher walked out. Lisa, her teacher, Joe Baylor, looked angry. Do you know I had to call the police because of your disappearance? Lisa stood at the door with her head down. Biting her lip, she knotted her fingers together. Teacher, I'm sorry. Did something happen to you? Tell me. No matter what, I can help you. Teacher, I'm fine. I just went out with friends and lost track of time. What friends? Joe Baylor knew Lisa's age and her personality. She didn't have any friends her age. Because of her high IQ, Lisa had gone to college at the age of 14. Because of that, she barely had any friends her age. After all, children of her age tended to be childish. She couldn't fit in with the older kids. She was ostracized by both groups. So, Joe Baylor was very suspicious of Lisa's claim that she went out with friends. He adopted Lisa when he was 3 years old, but at the age of 3, Lisa had already shown an amazing IQ and a strong memory. So, Lisa always remembered that Joe Baylor wasn't her father. She didn't even want to call him uncle. Of course, Joe Baylor didn't force her. He knew he couldn't force her. Forget it. You must be hungry. Go eat. Joe Baylor shook his head. Since Lisa didn't want to talk about it, she wouldn't say anything no matter how hard he asked. Teacher, I'm sorry. Lisa stuttered for a long time and finally said this. Next time you want to go out, can you tell me? Don't make me worry. Biting her lip, Lisa nodded silently. Joe Baylor said in a low voice, Go to school tomorrow. You shouldn't hang out with those people. You should use your intelligence in more useful places, at least to protect yourself. Lisa looked at Joe Baylor quietly. She knew that Joe Baylor had been worried about her all these years. A decent job might not be able to fulfill your wish, but at least it can make it easier for you, Joe Baylor said. Joe Baylor said, When you save enough money, you can do whatever you want. You're smarter than others, so you have more advantages than others. Teacher, I will study hard. Let's go eat and rest early. Chun, this year's UC sports meet is starting. You'll be the leader today. Right, that's too much, Chun Zhao complained. You didn't even discuss it with me. All right. Chun, do you want to be the leader? No. You see, I was rejected by you when I asked you, so I might as well make a decision directly. I don't have time. Chun, I feel that my body is getting worse and worse. I might not be able to stay as the principal for much longer. I hope that I can improve my performance as much as possible while I'm still here. Right? Are you not feeling well? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Puffed. Of course it's fake. I'm just telling you that if you don't agree, I'll act shamelessly. Right? Have you forgotten my personality? I'm a violent advocate. If you let me lead, I might break the legs of some students. As long as you have a legitimate reason, do as you please. My girlfriend's pregnant. I don't want to leave LA. It's in the San Diego branch campus. It's only a few 100 kilometers away from LA. Your excuse doesn't work. You know that the most important festival for Chinese is Chinese New Year, right? I can't leave, not even to San Diego. I know that China's New Year is on February 5th, and the sports meet is on February 17th. Don't tell me there's also the Lantern Festival, or I'll kick your balls. Chun Zhao wanted to cry. Wright had lived in China for more than a decade, so she was no stranger to China's festivals. There are so many PE teachers and professional coaches in the school. It's not appropriate for a medical professor like me to be the leader, right? Not appropriate? You sound like you care about what people say. Plus, aren't you best at defeating others in their area of expertise? Continue to develop your personality. I don't mind you teaching them a lesson. In your Chinese words, teach them how to behave. Right? You're pretty familiar with China's online slang. I'm just keeping up with the times. Forget it, since Wright is acting shamelessly. I'll take the job. He was just the leader anyway. The results had nothing to do with him. Chun Zhao stretched. Winip carried Jerlin and Fei Lai downstairs. Chun, I'm going shopping with Mom. Are you coming? You guys go. Have fun. Chun Zhao had only gone shopping with Fei Lai once. It was on the day of the old house fire. After that, Chun Zhao didn't go shopping with Fei Lai. It was the same for most men and women. Chun Zhao always went to the mall to buy things. Fei Lai, on the other hand, went to the mall to shop. It seemed like all the women in the world were the same. After Winip and Fei Lai left, they took Jerlin with them too. They clearly wanted to raise Jerlin into a shopping maniac. Chun Zhao was bored alone, so he went to school. Chun Zhao drove to the school. It was rare that there was an empty parking lot. When Chun Zhao got out of the car, another car was parked beside him. 2 people got out of the car. Chun Zhao turned to look at them, and they nodded at him. However, when the other person saw Chun Zhao, his expression changed. How could it be him? Why was he here? Reese's face was pale, and she broke out in a cold sweat. Did he know what she was thinking? Did Jessie betray her? Did he want to get rid of her? Chun Zhao was also surprised to see Reese here. Hello, Professor Chun. Hello you are? I'm from the math department, but I'm only an associate professor. Smiling, Joe Baylor said, "I'm Joe Baylor. You can call me Joe." "Hello, Professor Joe." Chun Zhao looked at Risa. "Is she your daughter?" "Yes, she's also a student." Joe Baylor looked at Risa with pride in his eyes. "Hello, little girl." Chun Zhao gave her a meaningful smile. "Hi, hello." Risa swallowed, and her voice became unnatural. "I'm going to be late for class. Bye." "Bye." Risa pulled Joe Baylor away, but she could still feel Chun Zhao's gaze on her back. "Risa, do you like China Chin?" "I don't even know him," Risa answered. "I felt your nervousness just now." "Nervousness is mainly caused by love or fear. That's why I think you might like him," Joe Baylor said with a smile. He seemed to think his speculation was accurate. Yes, very accurate. However, the reason for Risa's nervousness was another answer. "Teacher, is that China Chin also a professor at UCLA?" Chapter 10:27. Every professor has class hours, right? "He's a special professor," Chow Baylor said. "Also, this China Chun has a very violent tendency." Risa raised an eyebrow. "What about him?" "He once broke a professional boxer's arm in front of dozens of students," Chow Baylor said. "He also beat up more than 20 UCSF students and sent them to the hospital. It happened a year ago. This guy was indeed violent. How can the school keep someone like him?" "His reason is very reasonable," Chow Baylor said. "That professional boxer challenged him and seriously injured his student. This guy is too dangerous." Risa thought, being a university professor is just a disguise. Chow Baylor patted her shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" "I should go to class." Risa quickly walked into the building. Chun Zhao strolled in the school stadium. No matter what time it was, there would always be students training in the stadium. Or maybe they were in PE class. The 10,000-meter runner Grant that Chun Zhao knew had already graduated. Apparently, he'd entered the professional circle and become a professional athlete. Chun Zhao found a seat and sat down, watching the students train. Just then, a track coach ran over. "Hi, China Chun." Chun Zhao raised his head and looked at the middle-aged black man wearing a baseball cap. "Hi, pardon my rudeness, but you are?" "I'm Koang from the track and field club. I'm a coach. I train all the track and field clubs. I heard that you're the team leader for this year's UC sports meet." "You know?" Chun Zhao was surprised. "Yes," Koang said. "The principal just gave the notice. I'm here this time to get the list of participating students from the track and field club," Chun Zhao said. "Of course," Koang said. "I'll send you the list later." What did a team leader do? Simply put, it was a manager. Chun Zhao wasn't in charge of the students' results or who participated. However, he had the right to decide who didn't participate. For example, if someone broke the rules in the team, he had the right to ban them from participating. Generally speaking, the team leader was a highly respected coach or a physical education teacher. However, Chun Zhao didn't care who was convinced. The track and field club was the largest sports club in the school. Chun Zhao had thought that the track and field club would be the most resistant. She didn't expect Koang to accept her so easily. "Mr. Koang, do you have any objections to me being the leader? You were Evely's coach and trained a legendary athlete." "I don't think I have the qualifications to object." Koang was a realistic person, because Chun Zhao had indeed raised a professional champion. No matter how much effort Chun Zhao had put in, it meant that he had the right to be the leader. "But I heard that the coach of the basketball club is very dissatisfied with this, and the basketball club's coach, Robert, is encouraging his club's players to protest to the school by going on strike," Koang said. Chun Zhao was surprised. He couldn't tell if Koang was reminding him out of goodwill or just fanning the flames. "Thanks for the reminder." Chun Zhao stood up. "I'll go check out the basketball club. Maybe they have some misunderstanding about me." Chun Zhao walked toward the basketball court. It was Chun Zhao's first time in a basketball arena. When Chun Zhao entered the basketball court, an intra-team match was going on. A white coach was giving instructions on the sidelines. "He should be Robert." When Chun Zhao reached the sidelines, Robert also saw him. Robert blew the whistle to stop the match. At the same time, he strode toward Chun Zhao. "Outsiders are not allowed to enter." "Do you think I'm an outsider?" Chun Zhao looked at Robert. Chun Zhao could sense intense hostility from his tone. "Of course, Robert said matter-of-factly. Apart from the basketball club, no one else can enter. Then what are they? Chen Zhao pointed at the audience. There were some students watching. There was also a couple flirting. They're sitting in the audience, Robert said. I allow spectators, but I don't allow outsiders to enter the school. In that case, I'll inform you that you're fired. From now on, you're no longer the basketball club's coach. You're an outsider now, right? Chen Zhao looked at Robert with a smile. Robert scoffed. Do you have the right? Chen Zhao took out his phone and called Right. My dear principal, I'll make my request now. Either I leave, or you fire the basketball club's coach, soon. Chen Zhao hung up with a satisfied smile. Mr. Robert, you're no longer a staff member or the basketball club's coach. You're fired. No, you can't do this. Robert didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so domineering and kick him out like this. Not only that, but he'd also been stripped of his job. No, I can do this. Chen Zhao walked to the center of the basketball court. Chen Zhao didn't care if the players looked at him with kindness or hostility. He glanced at everyone. Listen up, you idiots. If you think you can pressure the school by going on strike, you'll only get disappointed. I don't care if you're willing to participate or not. I don't even care if the basketball team participates. But when I'm the team leader, I won't let anyone who's my enemy have a good time. He's an example. Asian, do you know basketball? How can you lead us? How can you be the leader of the school team? A black student shouted. He was clearly feeling unfair for Robert. I don't need to know basketball. I know so many things that you'll never be able to beat me. For example, boxing, swimming, and track. Chen Zhao looked at the black student. Can you only lead a team if you know basketball? Since you suspect me, then you don't need to be on my team. Not only that, I will investigate your class schedule, your credits, and your conduct. If you don't meet even the slightest requirement, I will get the school to expel you, just like that idiot. Chen Zhao pointed at Robert. The black student's face was already dark. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, his expression darkened even more. If anyone still wants to go against me, you can say it now. I'll be happy to fulfill your wish. Fight it out on the basketball court if you can. Don't be stupid. Is challenging an amateur the pride of your basketball club? Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Fight it out in the ring if you can. That's a man's game. If you dare to step into the ring, not only can I guarantee that you'll lose your career, but I can also destroy your life. That's right. No one dared to speak anymore. Chapter 10:28. Chen Zhao glanced at Robert. This is the result of going against me. Are you happy now? I'm going to report you to the school. Robert gritted his teeth at Chen Zhao. He'd been the team leader last year, so he felt that he had the qualifications to be the leader this year. To him, Chen Zhao was just an outsider. He didn't have the right to be the leader. That was why he'd encouraged the basketball players to protest to the school by going on strike. However, he never dreamed that the consequence of doing so would be his immediate dismissal. These players had previously vowed to advance and retreat together with Robert. But after Chen Zhao announced his arrival in such a domineering way, no one dared to go against him anymore. Chen Zhao picked up the basketball from the ground and glanced at the rim. He stood up, dribbled the ball, and charged straight at the rim. Clang! The bulletproof glass of the basket shattered, and Chen Zhao broke off the frame. Chen Zhao clapped his hands. I'll get someone to fix it. All the players' faces were ashen. No one dared to go against Chen Zhao anymore. Regardless of whether Chen Zhao was good at basketball or not, they'd probably be bedridden for a few months if Chen Zhao had a reasonable clash with them. Robert quickly caught up to Chen Zhao. Mr. Chen, wait for me. Robert didn't care about being the leader anymore. He just wanted to keep his job. Is there anything else? Mr. Robert. Mr. Chen, it's my fault. Please forgive me. It's all my fault. I apologize. Chen Zhao rubbed his chin. He'd come to the basketball club to establish his authority. He'd already established his authority. But forgiving Robert now was a bit anticlimactic. Why should I forgive you? Mr. Chen, my family has hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans. My entire family relies on my job. I have 4 kids. I can't not have this job. Please. For most Americans, losing a job meant losing everything. It was very difficult to find a suitable and well-paid job. I need a spy, Chen Zhao said calmly, glancing at Robert. Robert had no other choice now. He was easily controlled by Chen Zhao. Many people in the school sports club definitely wouldn't accept him. Without hesitation, Robert accepted Chen Zhao's request. "Mr. Chen, I'll be happy to help you." "Very willing?" Chen Zhao sneered inwardly. If it wasn't for the fact that she had the power to decide his life and death, he would probably still be at odds with her. "Go look after your basketball club. I don't want to hear any objections." Then, Chen Zhao went to a few other sports clubs. Every coach was obedient to Chen Zhao, as if they were his loyal admirers. Evely walked up to him as soon as he left the baseball club. "Hi, Evely." "Chen, I heard that you're the leader of the sports competition now?" "Yeah, what for?" "I'm going to participate in the competition. I just wanted to let you know." "You? Participate in the competition?" "Don't bully primary school students like this. You're going too far." "No, I want to participate," Evely said seriously. "Is it fun to compete with those amateurs?" "Bullying people is fun in itself. Besides, relaxing a little before the World Championship is also a good form of entertainment." Chen Zhao was speechless. Evely was the holder of many world records. Participating in the university sports meet was an act of bullying. "Whatever. It's up to you. I can't stop you anyway." Chen Zhao left the campus and received a call from Ethan. "Chen, I have a big client. $300,000. "Okay, send me the address." Chen Zhao didn't have many regular jobs anymore, but he still received big clients every time. They were generous, and most of them were expensive. After half an hour's drive, Chen Zhao arrived at a stadium. The stadium was very famous in LA. It was called Staples Center. After Chen Zhao parked the car, he was stopped by the security guard just as he was about to enter. "Sir, the stadium is not open right now." "I'm a doctor," Chen Zhao said. "My client is here." "May I ask who your client is?" "My client only gave me his phone number." "Then you can only call your client and have him pick you up. I can't let you in." Chen Zhao had no choice but to call his client. "Hello, sir. I received a request. I'm your private doctor. I heard that you need a doctor right now, right? I'm at the entrance of Staples Center in LA. I was stopped by the security guard. Wait for me at the entrance. I'll pick you up now." A while later, a young man with white hair and beard walked out, looking travel-worn. "You're the doctor?" "Yes, sir. Come in with me," the man said. "I'm Simpson. You can call me Chen. I'm from China. How much do you know about external injuries?" Simpson asked. "I can treat most of them," Chen Zhao answered. "I hope what you see later won't appear in the headlines the next day." "Of course. I'm the best in this industry. That's probably why you called me. I have my own professional ethics." "That's good." Chen Zhao felt that Simpson was probably famous too. However, Chen Zhao wasn't very familiar with him. Simpson brought Chen Zhao to a lounge. Before he even opened the door, he could hear shouting and cursing inside. However, when Simpson opened the door, the cursing stopped abruptly. In the lounge, there were two black men with bloody noses and swollen faces. The two of them had probably fought with each other not long ago. "You two asterisks holes. It's already like this, and you still won't stop?" Simpson roared. "Mr. Chun, please take a look at their injuries. Are they all basketball players? You don't know them?" "Sorry, I'm not interested in basketball. I prefer to read gossip about Hollywood stars," Chen Zhao said calmly. However, Chen Zhao recognized their uniforms. They were HR jerseys. "Me too, buddy. Which star do you like?" one of the black men asked. "Yafin and Lucy. They're all my favorite female stars," Chen Zhao said. He turned to Simpson. "Isn't your team doctor working today?" For a team as large as HR, they didn't just have a team doctor. They had an entire medical team. Chapter 10:29. Lie down, Chen Zhao said to the player before him. When the player lay down, he seemed to be struggling. Chen Zhao reached out and touched the player's chest. "Your third rib is broken." When the player heard this, he was furious. "Fuck Ruby, you ruined my season." "You asked for it," the player called Ruby retorted. "I'm gonna fuck you to death, you asterisk shoal." The player who'd been lying down jumped up again. Ignoring his injury, he wanted to fight Ruby. Chen Zhao stopped the player while Simpson stopped Ruby. "Behave, you two asterisk souls." Simpson's head was about to split open. These two Asterisk souls had bad tempers and even worse behavior. Because on the court, Duba didn't pass the ball to Ruby. In the end, the two started fighting in the locker room. If you keep moving and your broken ribs pierce into your lungs, Chen Zhao warned, it won't just be your season that'll be ruined. It might even be your career. Okay, sir. How long will it take for me to recover? Duba asked. Rest well. You'll be able to start rehabilitation in a week at most. A week? Mr. Chun, his ribs are broken. Are you sure a week is enough? That's why I'm the best in L.A., Chen Zhao said. Glancing at Simpson, he said, if I don't have the ability, why would you pay me $300,000? Ruby and Duba were also dumbfounded when they heard that Chen Zhao was paid $300,000 for this trip, even though they were NBA players and had salaries that normal people couldn't hope to reach. But it was impossible for them to get $300,000 for a trip. You seem to have old injuries. Chen Zhao lifted Duba's right arm and pinched the muscles in his lower arm. Do you feel any muscle soreness here when you play? That's normal, right? Duba asked. Of course it's not normal. It's a sign of muscle fatigue, which can lead to muscle strain, Chen Zhao said. Also, if your muscle fatigue can't be relieved, your exercise volume will decrease greatly. Simpson glanced at Duba and said, Mr. Chun, Duba has been substituted in less than 30 minutes in recent matches. Is that the reason? Chen Zhao nodded. But it's a small problem. I'll give you acupuncture to clear your channels. Sir, I also need treatment. Come and treat me quickly, Ruby shouted. Chen Zhao was setting Duba's bones and didn't have time to talk to Ruby. I'm calling you. Can you hear me? I'm healing your teammate, Chen Zhao said, tilting his head. Can't you see? His net worth isn't even half of mine. Even if someone were to be treated, I would be the one to treat him first. Your injuries aren't as bad as his, Chen Zhao said indifferently. I don't care. Treat me now. Ruby pulled his shoulder. Shrugging his shoulders, Chen Zhao said to Simpson, Mr. Simpson, you better control your players. Chen Zhao had always heard that NBA players were all problematic. Fighting, jealousy, eating, drinking, whoring, gambling, everything. They were also wasteful. Many players had a base salary of 10 or 20 million, but when they retired, they would be bankrupt. Ruby, you better behave yourself. Simpson went up to Ruby. But Ruby was 197 meters tall. Simpson couldn't pull him. Ruby shook off Simpson and tried to grab Chen Zhao again. But Chen Zhao dodged Ruby's hand. At the same time, he grabbed Ruby's neck, pulled him up, and pressed him to the ground. Bang! Ruby felt like his body was falling apart. Chen Zhao slapped Ruby's face. Big guy, maybe you don't understand me, so let's talk in another way. Do you want to stop the season too? Ruby's face stiffened. What? Seeing Ruby fall to the ground, Simpson hurried over to stop Chen Zhao. Mr. Chun, I asked you to treat my players, not to hurt them. He asked for it, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Then, Chen Zhao turned around and continued treating Duba. Seeing that Chen Zhao had taught Ruby a lesson, Duba's eyes brightened. He gloated and said, Mr. Chun, good job. Since he wasn't the one getting beaten up, he was obviously happy to see it. You better behave too. Chen Zhao finished the initial treatment for Duba. You can go down now. You come here and lie down. Mr. Chun, didn't you say you were going to treat my muscles? Acupuncture can't be done that fast. Let him treat you first, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Big guy, you don't want to come over? Ruby walked to Chen Zhao with a dark expression. You're the one who caused my injury. So? Ruby glared at Chen Zhao, gritting his teeth. But in the end, he still lay down before Chen Zhao. Turn over. I'll look at your back. Chen Zhao had pressed Ruby to the ground with a lot of force. Ruby's left shoulder blade showed signs of fracture. However, when Chen Zhao smeared the potion on Ruby's shoulder blade, Ruby moaned in pleasure. So comfortable. Okay, you can turn around. Give me some more ointment. I told you to turn around. Chen Zhao said with a dark expression. Give me some more ointment, just a little. Seeing that Ruby was acting shamelessly again, Chen Zhao reached out and pinched Ruby's shoulder. Ah, I'll turn. Ruby screamed in pain. Chen Zhao had never seen such a troublesome patient before. You're not gentle at all. You must be single, Ruby cursed. Chen Zhao couldn't be bothered with Ruby, but he was a lot more ruthless when treating him. Ruby kept screaming and didn't stop. All kinds of trash talk came out of his mouth. Qinzhao didn't know if he was talking to Qinzhao. It was said that black people were good at running their mouths. Ruby really did it. He didn't repeat anything from beginning to end. Okay, don't do any strenuous exercise for 3 days, Qinzhao said. Come here. I'll give you muscle decompression treatment. Half an hour later, Qinzhao stood up. Take these 2 bottles of ointment. Apply it on your wounds once a day. You can apply it on your arms too. It's not bad. Mr. Chun, give me your account number. Qinzhao gave it to Simpson. Hurry up and transfer the money to my account. Of course. Simpson nodded. As Ruby applied the ointment, he moaned in comfort. So comfortable. Mr. Chun, can you sell me another bottle of this? 200,000 per bottle. Do you want it? Chapter 1030. He didn't bargain at all and just bought it after asking. Qinzhao hadn't seen such a generous buyer in a long time. Qinzhao had taken care of many rich people. There were also many people richer than Ruby, but not many people bought things like Ruby. For anyone, $200,000 was a lot. Some sports stars didn't receive higher education, especially NBA stars. At least half of them came from the slums. To put it bluntly, they were the nouveau riche of modern society. They didn't have the concept of managing money or saving. What they respected was the idea of enjoying life to the fullest. But since she wanted to buy it, Qinzhao had no reason not to sell it. Jessie was in class when she received a call. Thankfully, she'd set the phone to vibrate. Lisa, it's Jessie. Yes? The computer you wanted? I've already bought it for you. How much did it cost? Send me the configuration. After looking at the computer configuration sent by Jessie, Lisa nodded slightly. Very good. When do we start? Not so soon. Living is much more difficult than working. Can't I start after I buy the computer? Are you an idiot? Do you think this is the same as cheating on the street? You can just find a random person to cheat? Reisa said contemptuously. Yes, I'm an idiot. I'm not as smart as you. That's enough. Jessie knew that Lisa was smart. She never denied her abilities. They'd worked together before because Lisa had approached her. Before meeting Lisa, she only played some small tricks and the efficiency was very low. Ever since they'd worked together, Lisa had come up with many new tricks. This increased their income quite a bit. You said that you'd tell me your plan after I buy the computer. Can you tell me now? Norton Simon Museum has 5 levels of collections. Lisa said, we're going to steal the 3rd level. You've already said this, Jessie reminded her. Don't rush. Keep listening, Lisa said. Reisa said, first of all, I have to confirm the target. I have chosen a collector's item, the No Sigmara copper cone. The No Sigmara copper cone is a relic of the islanders of No Sigmara in the South Pacific Ocean. Stop, I don't need to know where this thing came from. I just want to know how much this thing is worth, and if there's a buyer for it, Jessie said impatiently. It's worth $900,000. I've checked. There's a buyer who asked the Norton Simon Museum to buy it, but the museum rejected him. Then, the buyer posted a bounty on the black market, and the bounty is $900,000. How do we do it? The Norton Simon Museum has a system called the Automatic Anti-Theft Defense System. This system was developed by the Clover Company. When the display case is violently attacked, it will sink into the ground. I've studied this system. It's not difficult to break it, but it will trigger an electronic alarm. This is the most troublesome part of this system. Then what should we do? The first thing you have to do is to deceive the security guards and set fire to the Norton Simon Museum to trigger the fire alarm inside. Then, the security guards on night duty will escape from the museum first. Then, you will take the opportunity to sneak in. Set fire? If we're caught, we might be locked up in prison for at least 20 years. Then don't get caught, Lisa said. The nearest fire station is less than 3 kilometers away from the Norton Simon Museum. So, as long as the fire alarm rings, the firefighters will arrive in 10 minutes. Then, you will disguise yourself as a firefighter and enter the museum. Then, I will directly break the system. You will leave immediately after you find the collection. Then, can we use this method on a grade 1 collectible item? No, this system is divided into 5 levels of defense. You only have 3 minutes to act. If you want to break the first level of defense, it will take at least 10 minutes. We definitely don't have that much time. Is there no other way? The Norton Simon Museum has installed a laser. Have you seen Resident Evil? It's the kind of machine that can cut people into pieces. If you don't listen to my orders, you will become minced meat. Okay. Now, mail the computer to my house. By the way, put a lottery logo on the package. Okay, got it? Winnip, it's me. Believe me, I really have nothing to do with Pamela. That asterisk Schultz and set me up. Winnip held her phone lazily and replied carelessly, I know. What? You know? Did Shinzeo tell you? I knew on the first day. You knew on the first day? Lauren's expression was very interesting. Yes, I knew on the first day. Then why? Because you're psychologically out of line, Winnip said matter-of-factly. Don't explain to me that you didn't. I don't believe you. I only believe what I feel. Psychologically out of line? What the hell? Laurent wanted to cry. He felt so wronged. But I've punished you for so many days. I think it's enough. I'll forgive you for now. Laurent hated Chinzhao to the bone. He wanted to pull out his tendons and skin him alive. Feilai's been pregnant for more than 4 months, Winnip warned. I don't want her to be agitated. I don't care what's going on with you and Chun, but you two better behave. If you cause any more trouble, I won't let you go. Laurent wasn't so easily convinced. Defeating Chinzhao was his life's work. He wouldn't get anything if he defeated Chinzhao. He'd suffered so much this time. How could he just let it go? However, if he fought Chinzhao head-on, he'd definitely lose. What should he do? Laurent racked his brains. This was Chinzhao's territory. He didn't know anyone here. Suddenly, an idea popped into his head. Kareem Howard can't come in here, Laurent called. Mr. Laurent? What's up? I have an idea. Help me see if there are any loopholes. The three all looked like they wanted to die. It hadn't even been 2 days, and Laurent was going to cause trouble again. No, he was asking for it. He clearly couldn't win. Why did he have to do this? Wasn't it good to live well? Mr. Laurent, why don't you just take a gun and shoot Chinzhao? Chapter 1031. Is that old bastard doing something again? Chinzhao also had a headache. How could he solve this problem once and for all? It was unrealistic to kill Laurent. Should he just make him afraid? Chinzhao saw Winnip playing with Jerlin outside the house. Hi, Winnip. Don't you have work today? I'm free today. Aren't you and Feilai going shopping? Winnip glanced at Chinzhao. What's wrong? This old witch was too smart. Winnip knew what he was thinking before he even said it. Lawrence up to no good again, Chinzhao said. You know, I've always been obedient. I can't stand Laurent always bullying me like this. Laurent bullying Chinzhao? Winnip sneered. It's good enough that you don't bully my husband. Just say what you want to say. I plan to send Laurent to jail for a few days. You see? Are you sure? I need to make him afraid. Are you confident that nothing will happen? Don't worry. I'm very confident. Okay. Winnip put on a kind smile and started playing with Jerlin. With Winnip's approval, Chinzhao heaved a sigh of relief. It was really troublesome to have a father-in-law like Laurent. Just then Laurent called. Hi Chin, how are you? I'm not feeling good at all from your call. Come out to play. Chinzhao strolled in the yard. No, you tricked me for so many days. Shouldn't you make it up to me? It's so late. Are you sure you want to do it now? Of course. I can't wait. Fine. If you think you're ready, I'll accompany you to the end. I won't disappoint you this time, Laurent said confidently. Give me the address. I'll go now. Laurent glanced at Kareem, Howard, and Kane. Now it all depends on this. Are the people you arranged ready? Yes, Kareem said. We'll definitely make Chun piss his pants this time. Kane, Howard, and Kareem had already reached a consensus to stand on Chinzhao's side. So, they had already sent Lawrence ideas to Chinzhao as soon as possible. Not far from Laurent, 2 fire trucks were parked on the side of the road. Boss, we are near the Norton Simon Museum, a man on the fire truck said into the walkie-talkie. When do we start? As soon as the Norton Simon Museum catches fire, we will leave immediately. Remember, I want Noxamara's copper all. As for the other things, you can take as many as you want. Got it, boss. We will do as you wish. After turning off the walkie-talkie, the person next to him said, I really don't understand what the boss is thinking. There are so many valuable things in the Norton Simon Museum. Why does he have to choose a worthless collection? That's why he's the boss, and we're just his subordinates. What time do we start? The man in the driver's seat glanced at his watch. It's 10:00 sharp. The person inside will set the fire at exactly 10 o'clock. Then, we will disguise ourselves as firefighters and go in. There was another car parked near the fire trucks. It was a pickup truck. Lisa and Jessie were in it. The two girls looked at the Norton Simon Museum from afar. Lisa, when do we start? Don't worry. At 11 o'clock, I've bribed the security inside. He will help set the fire. You can wear your firefighter suit. Only me? What else? It's just the two of us. I need to break the defense system. Do you want me to go in with you? Okay. God bless us. I hope everything goes well. Jessie had prayed countless times tonight. We're stealing and setting the fire. Do you think God will bless you? Lisa rolled her eyes. I think you should pray to the devil. No. Whenever I think of the word devil, I will think of that person. Lisa heard Jessie's words. She also knew who Lisa was talking about. To her, that person was like a nightmare. Jessie kept looking at the time on her watch. She looked very nervous. Lisa had been operating the computer all this time. Lisa, are you sure this plan will work? When it was time to act, Jessie wanted to retreat again. Lisa looked at Jessie indifferently. Of course, I've calculated it. As long as you do as I say, the success rate is 90%. What if it fails? It doesn't matter if it fails. Even if you are arrested, you will be locked up for a few days at most. We committed arson and theft. How can we be locked up for a few days? Who can prove that you committed arson and theft? At most, it can only be considered trespassing. Lisa said, as long as you don't talk nonsense, the police can't do anything to you. I see. Then I'm relieved. Jessie heard Lisa's words and felt relieved for a few days. It turned out that it would only be a few days. She thought it would be a long time. Anyway, it was normal for her to go to the police station. Lisa glanced at Jessie's plump chest. Sure enough, the bigger the chest, the more brainless a woman was. Then she looked at her own chest. Although it was small, her brain worked well. Lisa's words just now were just to comfort Jessie. How could it be so simple? Lisa just shifted all the risks to Jessie. It was just that Jessie didn't realize it herself. Lisa was even prepared for how she would defend herself if Jessie bit her back. As a minor, she had the greatest advantage. It was easier for her to win the sympathy of the jury and the trust of the judge. But at this moment, a fire suddenly rose in the direction of the Norton Simon Museum. Lisa, the man you arranged has already made his move, Jessie shouted, pointing in the direction of the museum. What? How can it be so fast? I told him to do it at 11. Lisa's expression changed. Damn it, what's wrong with that bastard? Why is he so fast? An hour early. Then what should we do? Get ready. When the fire truck arrives, you go in with it, Lisa said. Is it really okay to do it an hour early? No problem. Lisa gave Jessie a reassuring expression. But how could it be okay? She was now tentatively attacking the defense system of the Norton Simon Museum. If she did it now, she wouldn't even have a chance to test it. Chapter 1032. There seems to be a fire over there. Laurent looked in the direction of the Norton Simon Museum. Could it be someone you arranged for someone to do this? Stop joking. That's the Norton Simon Museum. Who dares to set fire to it? Why isn't that bastard here yet? Chun Zhao was also not far from the Norton Simon Museum. Chun Zhao looked at the Norton Simon Museum in the distance. Laurent didn't set fire to that place, right? That's psycho. Just then, the sound of a fire truck came from behind. Chun Zhao moved aside and let the truck pass first. It is international practice to give way to fire engines and ambulances. As long as the road conditions permitted, one should take the initiative to give way to these two. Chun Zhao parked the car on the side of the road and got out, watching the fire trucks pass by. However, he saw a man smoking through the window of the fire engine. He didn't look like a firefighter at all. The man also saw Chun Zhao standing by the side of the road. He flicked the cigarette in his hand away. The cigarette fell beside Chun Zhao's feet. Chun Zhao walked forward. The place where Laurent had arranged to meet him wasn't far from here. When the fire truck entered the Norton Simon Museum, the The security guard on duty shouted, "Hurry up and put out the fire! Hurry up and put out the fire!" A few fully armed firefighters got out of the car, but they didn't connect the fire hose. Instead, they went straight to the area that wasn't on fire. When they arrived at the door, they found that the glass door of the museum's main exhibition hall was closed. "Open this door," a fireman said to the security guard. "What are you doing here? There's a fire over there." Showed blood blossomed on the security guard's forehead. One of the firemen tore off the security guard's badge. "Clean up the corpse. Don't let anyone see it. Let's go in first." One of them dragged the corpse to a dark place. Jesse was wearing a firefighter suit, a sterile mask on his face, and an oxygen tank on his back. Upon entering the Norton Simon Museum, she noticed that the security guard at the entrance had disappeared. There were 2 fire engines parked in front, but there were no firefighters. Just as he was about to walk forward, a fireman appeared out of nowhere. "We'll stand guard here." "What?" "We'll be waiting here. If the real fire department comes, you open fire directly." Jesse's mind was a little confused. What did that mean? The firefighter glanced at Jesse. "First time?" Jesse nodded stiffly. "Really, what kind of people did the boss arrange for us?" At this moment, intense gunshots came from the main hall, as well as the sound of bombs exploding. Some of the floor-to-ceiling windows in the main hall were shattered. Jesse had a faint premonition that something was wrong. Lisa's voice came from the earpiece in Jesse's ear. "Jesse, did you get in there?" At this moment, with that person standing beside him, Jesse couldn't speak. Lisa continued, "I found a group of real robbers at the Norton Simon Museum through internal surveillance. If you didn't go in, you'd better leave now. They're killing people inside." Jesse was shivering all over, and cold sweat was constantly dripping from his body. The person beside him was the robber, right? "Yeah. One of the 2 people at the door is you, right?" Reisa found the surveillance camera at the door. At the same time, he also recognized one of them. It was Jesse. "The robber's plan is similar to mine, but they are more violent and direct. But if I had the ability, I would do the same," Reisa said to herself. At this moment, police sirens could be heard from outside. "The police are here so soon." Reisa was a little surprised. "Jesse, you'd better retreat now. I've seen the topographic map of the entire museum. Find an excuse to enter the main hall." Jesse looked at the robber beside him. "I'll go in and inform the boss. Hurry up and tell them to move faster." The robber obviously didn't realize that the person beside him wasn't his companion. Jesse quickly ran into the main hall, but as soon as he entered the exhibition hall, he saw 2 bodies on the ground, both of which were security guards with their heads blown off. Jesse was shocked and was about to turn around and run. At this time, Reisa said, "Don't panic. Go forward and turn right. You'll find a toilet." Jesse was about to follow Reisa's instructions when a large wave of people in fire suits came over. "Be careful, they're robbers. Don't show any flaws." "What's going on? Why are you here?" asked the robber leader. "There are a lot of police outside. Prepare for battle." "Damn it, why are the police so fast?" The robber leader was annoyed. At this moment, gunshots and explosions came from outside. The robber outside must have fought with the police. "Boss, what should we do?" "Of course we fight our way out. What else can we do?" The robber leader gritted his teeth. "We can't let the police reinforce us. We have to finish this quickly." The group of robbers all took out their weapons and began to walk out. Jesse was also dragged out. Several police cars in front of him were already in position. There were probably 8 or 9 police officers. The 2 sides exchanged fire in an instant. The robbers' firepower was far stronger than the police's. However, the police hiding behind the police cars were safer than these robbers. Jesse was so scared that he covered his head and squatted on the ground. But at this moment, a person fell in front of him. "Take his backpack," the robber leader shouted at Jesse. Jesse tore off the backpack and began to run around. "Run inside. Don't stay on the battlefield. You don't even have a gun in your hand," Reisa said. "Return to the exhibition hall and follow the direction I told you." The battlefield was too chaotic at this time, and no one noticed that Jesse had escaped. After all, everyone was running or avoiding bullets. "There's a skylight in the toilet. Climb up." This skylight can lead to the back of the exhibition hall. Jesse had never done such a difficult move, but compared to running for his life, climbing up the skylight became less difficult. Using the sink, Jesse climbed up the skylight. Then he walked on the protruding part of the wall of the exhibition hall. "Where are you now?" Reisa asked. Because there were no surveillance cameras here, Reisa couldn't command in real time. "I climbed out of the skylight. I'm now on the outside. Go left, and you'll see a lake. Jump into the lake from the second floor. There won't be any problems." Jesse soon found that there was an artificial lake next to the exhibition hall. Without thinking, Jesse jumped into the lake. "I think the Domingo Bridge is waiting for you," Reisa said. Jesse's escape was much easier than expected. Reisa parked the car by the bridge, and Jesse climbed into the car covered in mud. Then Reisa drove the car away. "It's so scary. I thought I was going to die in there," Jesse said in fear. "What's your backpack?" Reisa asked. Chapter 1033. Jesse opened the backpack. There were 4 or 5 items inside. "Ah, this is the Nasamara all you mentioned," Jesse exclaimed in surprise. Lisa's eyes froze. Her gaze was not on the Nasamara all. Instead, it was on the other items, which were far more valuable than the Nasamara all. The Mayan golden knife, the Greek godly cup, the Roman ring. Lisa said, "These are also items, right? These 3 items are all worth more than $100 million. Clang. The Roman ring in Jesse's hand fell to the ground. "Are you kidding? Don't think about it. We can't get rid of them in a short time. Both sides must be desperately looking for us. Unless you want to die, you can't get rid of them. Then we can sell the Nasamara all. It's not that valuable. The Nasamara all was lost with several other items. If we take it out, doesn't that mean the other items are also in our hands? How long will that take? A month? Or 2 months? A year? That's the minimum," Lisa said. "And the L.A. black market doesn't have that big of an appetite. A year? That's too long. Do you want to die? If you do, we can split it now. Each of us gets 2. Why should I get 2 each? I put in the most effort, so I want 3. Without me, do you think you could come back alive?" Lisa said. "Besides, I can work with anyone. I'm irreplaceable, but you can be replaced by anyone." This was what Jesse had always said to her in the past. This time, she returned it to him. "You can pick 2. Are you sure? I want the Mayan golden knife and the Greek godly cup." All 3 were worth $100 million. Of course, she would choose 2 of them. As for the Nasamara all, it was far less valuable than the other 3. It was better than nothing. "Take it," Lisa said. She didn't argue. "But how do we get rid of it?" I said at least a year, and we haven't removed the bracelets from our hands. Think about it. If the Chinese knew that the bracelets were in our hands, do you think we would be able to refuse his request? As soon as Jesse thought of the Chinese man, his expression became unnatural. Then what should we do? Just pretend that nothing happened. First, find a way to remove the bracelet. Then when things settle down, take it out and sell it. Then you can do whatever you want. 1 year? It's so long. At this moment, the gunshots in the Norton Simon Museum gradually died down. There were only 4 robbers left, and all the policemen had been shot dead. "Let's go. Get in the car," the robber boss shouted. "Where is it? Who's holding it?" The bandit leader realized that none of the 4 of them were carrying the backpack. But his companion's body on the ground didn't have the backpack either. "Damn it, who has it?" Someone counted the number of people and the corpses on the ground. They were all there. "All of us are here. The thing must still be here." At this moment, the sound of sirens came from afar again. The second batch of policemen was about to arrive. The bandit leader made a prompt decision. "Let's go. Retreat first." If they didn't leave now, they really wouldn't be able to. The 4 robbers boarded the fire truck and charged out. Just then, the police cars came and blocked the road. Ram them. The police cars had thought that the robbers would stop, but they didn't expect them to ram them directly. The robbers relied on the fact that the fire truck was large and sturdy. They rammed into the police cars blocking the road and sent them flying. Fuck, everything was going so smoothly. How did it disappear? The robbers complained. They couldn't understand why the backpack had disappeared. Chen Zhao walked on the road. Just then, the fire truck that had passed by earlier returned. It was the same burly man sitting by the window. Their eyes met. The man stared at Chen Zhao, and Chen Zhao stared back. The gunfight had happened far away, but Chen Zhao already knew that they weren't firefighters. Of course, it wasn't related to him, so Chen Zhao couldn't be bothered to ask. If it was some evil spirit, Chen Zhao could deal with it in passing. As for arresting murderers and arsonists, that was the police's job. If Chen Zhao had seen them here, he might not have just stood by and watched. But Chen Zhao was too lazy to be a good man when it came to injustice. Chen Zhao walked for a while and looked around. This seemed to be the place that Laurent had agreed on. Suddenly, a few people jumped out of the darkness. They were all masked and pointed their guns at Chen Zhao. "Don't move." Sigh, this old bastard didn't have any new ideas. Couldn't he think of something new? With a few punches and kicks, Chen Zhao beat them all to the ground. "Stop, stop. We're not robbers, we're actors. We're just actors. The guns are fake." They lay on the ground and wailed. Chen Zhao picked up the guns. They were indeed fake. In fact, he'd already heard about Laurent's plan from Karim. Chen Zhao took out his phone. "Hello, police station? I want to make a report. I met robbers, but I took care of them. They're lying on the ground now." A while later, the police came. It wasn't just one or two, but a large group of fully armed police. "Sir, did you call the police?" A police officer called from afar. He didn't approach Chen Zhao immediately. "Yes, they attacked me," Chen Zhao answered, pointing at the people on the ground. At the same time, Chen Zhao raised his hands to show his stance. After all, the police hadn't confirmed Chen Zhao's identity. If Chen Zhao didn't do anything non-threatening, they wouldn't dare to come over. They might even shoot. Only then did the police come over. "Can I see your ID?" "It's in my pocket." Usually, when the police were interrogating someone, they couldn't put their hand into their pocket or pants. In this country, where guns were everywhere, such an action was very likely to be taking out a gun. The police took out Chen Zhao's driver's license. After checking the ID number, they confirmed Chen Zhao's identity. "Can you tell me what happened in detail?" "I was passing by, and they jumped out of the darkness with guns, trying to rob me. I fought back and knocked them down. Then I called the police. The police looked at the people. When they'd received Chen Zhao's call, they thought it was related to the attack at the Norton Simon Museum. Now, it seemed that they'd thought too much." Chapter 1034. When Chen Zhao arrived at the police station, he saw that David was there too. "Hey Chen, what did you do this time?" "I'm a victim." "Come on, you're a victim." David knew Chen Zhao too well. He scoffed at Chen Zhao's answer. The officer who brought Chen Zhao back said, "David, this gentleman is indeed a victim. What happened to him? He met a few robbers and he beat all the robbers down, didn't he?" The officer rolled his eyes. It seemed that David knew Chen Zhao very well. "When can I meet robbers too? I'm so jealous." "David, there's something wrong with your focus." "Chen, are you going to give a statement?" "Let me take your statement." David brought Chen Zhao into a compartment. "David, do me a favor." "What favor?" "It's Fei Lai's father." Chen Zhao told David what he was thinking. David had a headache. Technically, he should help Chen Zhao. But this was between Chen Zhao and Fei Lai's father. Americans rarely interfered with other people's family matters. Even the best of friends wouldn't interfere with other people's family matters. This was the respect and privacy that friends have for each other. But Chen Zhao had said it himself. Fine. At the moment, Laurent was still at the same spot, waiting for the people they'd hired to send back news. But after more than an hour, there was still no reply. "Karim, are the people you hired reliable?" "Mr. Laurent, they're all actors. How reliable do you expect them to be? Plus, you know Chen's combat ability. If he gets angry, I'm afraid that they'll all be crippled." Just then, police sirens sounded in the distance. Then, more than 10 police cars stopped beside Laurent and the others. "Don't move. Put your hands on the steering wheel." Usually, when the police arrested a suspect, the suspect had to put his hands where the police could see to prevent the suspect from drawing his gun. "What are you doing?" Laurent and the others panicked. They didn't understand what was happening. "You've hired people to kill. Now, you're officially arrested." Everything you say will be used as evidence in court. What? Hired people to kill? Laurent was dumbfounded. Nonsense. I didn't hire anyone to kill. It's that asshole Chun. It must be that asshole, Laurent cursed. All four of them were brought into the police station. But soon, Kareem, Howard, and Kane were released. They saw Chun Zhao at the police station. He was chatting with David. Chun, did you really do it? That old bastard. Let him sober up in the detention room. David glanced at Chun Zhao. Chun, I've taken a huge risk for you. I'm being detained illegally. It's fine. If that old bastard wants to sue you, just tell him I reported him. As long as there was a whistleblower and a litigant, the police could at least have a name. This way, David wouldn't be implicated. Chun Zhao and Laurent had a personal grudge. Although he had asked for David's help, he wouldn't cause trouble for David. Boss, Mr. Laurent was arrested by the police. Chun did this? Yes. Both of them are troublesome. Whatever. Let Laurent sober up in prison. Don't tell Feilai about this. The next day, the news of the attack on the Norton Simon Museum and the casualties of many security guards and police officers was reported by all the major media. News that the robbers had stolen an exhibit worth hundreds of millions of dollars also spread. The entire United States was in an uproar. This was the largest museum robbery in history. The underground forces were also mobilized, trying to find out who was behind the attack. An exhibit worth hundreds of millions of dollars was enough to make anyone drool. No one could turn a blind eye to this. Everyone wanted a piece of the action. However, there was very little information about the robbers. They were a very professional group of robbers. There was almost no information leaked out. At the same time, the police were also blocking the information. Their only clue was the robbers who had been killed on the spot. The police were currently investigating the robbers' identities. The Bonner Society was a private museum. The owner of the Bonner Club was none other than Bonner. The public only knew Bonner as a billionaire, collector, philanthropist, and so on. However, a small number of people knew that Bonner was a black market merchant, a relic dealer, and an art thief. Nader, I want to know where the thing is. Where exactly is the thing I want? Bonner's expression was very cold. Boss, I'm not lying to you. We didn't get it. It was lost in the gunfight with the police. No, it's in the Norton Simon Museum. They purposely released fake news that it was stolen. In fact, it's still inside, Nader explained. Bonner's eyes flickered. In other words, the people in the Norton Simon Museum might be lying to the public? In fact, it was someone from the inside who hid the exhibits. This kind of thing was very common. Bonner had made deals with such people before. The Norton Simon Museum was owned by the state. From the owner to the staff, they were all employed by the state. Therefore, it could not be ruled out that someone had hidden selfish motives and kept the exhibit for himself, then sold it to the black market. Many of the items in Bonner's collection had been obtained this way. Investigate the Norton Simon Museum and find the suspect. No one could take away my things. Bonner snorted. Lisa, where did you go last night? Joe Baylor asked. Lisa raised her head and looked at Joe Baylor. Sir, I slept at Penny's house last night. Penny? Joe Baylor remembered that there was indeed a girl named Penny in the math department. However, this girl's reputation was not very good, and her academic performance was relatively poor. Penny had a party last night. She invited me. Hearing Lisa's answer, Joe Baylor was not unhappy. Instead, he looked relieved. After all, Lisa had gone to a classmate's party, which was something to be happy about. It meant that Lisa could blend in with her classmates. Remember to tell me next time you go to a classmate's party. You didn't answer my calls. I don't object to you going to a classmate's party, but you should at least tell me. I'm sorry, sir. Have you been drinking? No. Lisa answered. That's good. You're underage. Lisa had been prepared before she took action last night. She had even thought of an excuse to answer Joe Baylor. There were so many people at Penny's party that they wouldn't notice her. So, she could say that she was at the party. Chapter 1035. Lisa returned to her room and took out Nasamara's copper awl. According to what Lisa knew about Nasamara's awl, Nasamara's awl had a history of at least 6,000 years. It was a product of prehistoric civilization. But even after 6,000 years, Nasamara's all was still as sharp as a thorn. According to the research of archaeologists, it was speculated that Nasamara's all was used as a sacrifice to the gods. She dared to leave her things at home because Joe Baylor had never touched anything in her room since she was 8 years old. That was the respect Joe Baylor gave her. But Lisa always felt that she didn't belong here, even though she regarded Joe Baylor as her family. But Lisa always felt that she would have to leave here sooner or later. Otherwise, she would bring disaster to Joe Baylor. Ouch! When Lisa touched the tip of the awl, the tip accidentally pricked her finger. Just then, Lisa heard Joe Baylor's voice outside the door. "Lisa, it's time to take a shower." Joe Baylor was a good man, but he was very strict with Lisa's schedule. When she got up, when she ate, and even when she took a shower, he controlled everything. Lisa took a change of clothes and went into the bathroom. When she turned on the shower head, she found that the water was a bit low. Lisa turned up the water temperature, but it still felt a bit low. Lisa frowned. "That's weird. Is the water heater broken? Forget it. I'll just make do with it." She had no other choice. After all, it was so late. After the shower, Lisa returned to the room. But not long after, Lisa heard screams coming from outside. "Ah, Lisa, why did you turn the water temperature so high?" Stunned, Lisa walked out of the room and found that Joe Baylor had also escaped from the bathroom with a bath towel wrapped around his shoulder. "When I took a shower, I felt the water temperature was a bit low, so I turned it up. I thought the water heater was broken." "Forget it. I'll find someone to take a look tomorrow. Go to bed early." "Huh?" Lisa suddenly jumped up from the bed and looked at the time. Only 2 hours had passed. What was going on? It was early February, and the temperature at night was less than 10 degrees. How could she feel hot? Lisa opened the window and still felt a bit hot. If only he could lower the temperature a little more, then he wouldn't feel so hot. Lisa lay back on the bed and went back to sleep. But not long after, Lisa felt cold again. Lisa shivered and woke up from the cold this time. Just then, there was a knock on the door. "Lisa, are you asleep?" "Teacher, what's the matter?" "The temperature seems to be very low tonight. You need another quilt." At this moment, Lisa really felt cold. When he opened the door, he saw Joe Butler standing at the door with a quilt in his hands. This moved Lisa inexplicably. "Sleep early." Joe Baylor was shivering from the cold. Because the weather in Los Angeles was relatively mild, there was no heater installed at home. This kind of cold night might not happen even once in a few years. Lisa didn't sleep well that night. He woke up a few times during the night. It was either cold or hot. In the morning, Joe Butler woke Lisa. "Lisa, you have class in the morning. Get up early." Lisa walked into the bathroom in a daze, rubbing her eyes as she walked. But suddenly, Lisa saw her palm in the mirror. Her palm was black, and the color was even darker on her index finger. "What's going on?" Lisa was startled and rubbed her right palm. Just then, Lisa felt her palm start to tremble slightly, as if something was about to burst out. Lisa hurriedly put her hand under the faucet, but a scene that Lisa found unbelievable appeared. The water from the faucet was cold, but when it came into contact with Lisa's palm, the dripping water became hot. "What's going on?" Lisa's face was full of confusion. "Superpower? Do I have superpower?" Such an unimaginable and even ridiculous idea popped up in Lisa's mind. Lisa looked at her palm. If she really had superpower, what kind of superpower was it? She recalled last night when she took a shower. If the water heater didn't break, then it was probably her superpower. She could absorb heat and release it at the same time. Lisa began to experiment again. First, she didn't confirm her superpower, but whether she was awake or not. After more than 10 minutes, Lisa finally confirmed that she really had superpower. And, just as she expected, she had the superpower to absorb heat. "Knock, knock, Lisa. You've been in there for half an hour. We only have one bathroom." Lisa rolled her eyes. She was very satisfied with the house and Joe Baylor. The only thing she was dissatisfied with was that there was only one bathroom in the house. "Professor, I'll take the bus to school later. I feel a little uncomfortable." "Lisa, are you sick? I'll take you to the hospital." Joe Baylor immediately became nervous and shouted at Lisa through the door. "It must be the damn low temperature last night. Lisa was touched by Joe Baylor's concern. No, I'm fine. Have you measured it with a thermometer? Yes, my temperature is normal. Come out. I'll take your temperature. Joe Baylor was still worried. Professor, you should give me some space. I'm just here. Ah, sorry. Go to school first. I'll take care of it and come back later. Okay. If you have any questions, call me anytime. After Joe Baylor left, Lisa began to experiment with her superpower again. Lisa found that she could create a very cold environment, but the environment couldn't be too big. It could cover the entire house. The so-called create was actually absorbing the heat within the range. The temperature within the range could go as low as -50 degrees. Lisa's heart jumped. Could she absorb the heat from an instant explosion? Lisa glanced at the bracelet on her arm. She recalled how Chun Zhao had demonstrated the power of the bracelet's explosion. According to Lisa's memory, the explosive power of the bracelet was not very strong. But just to be safe, she should try to take off the bracelet first. It was too risky to detonate the bracelet and then absorb the heat. A thought suddenly appeared in her mind. Where did her superpower come from? Was it innate, or did it awaken later? No, it definitely wasn't innate. Lisa looked at her blackened right hand. Noxamara's copper awl. Her right index finger had once been pierced by Noxamara's copper awl. Chapter 10:36. How could she test if she could absorb the heat from the explosion? Lisa thought of a way. It was a very unreliable way to create an explosion. Lisa turned on the gas in the house and filled the entire room with gas. At the moment of the explosion, Lisa felt a huge amount of heat. The heat instantly poured into Lisa's body. It was easier than imagined. An idea suddenly popped into Lisa's mind. Revenge on that man. The idea grew stronger and stronger. Anyway, he was a bad guy who killed people like flies. It wouldn't be too much to kill him. In the past few days, Jessie's life had completely changed. Even though she didn't have money yet, she already treated herself as a rich person. It didn't matter if she didn't have money. She could borrow money. As a professional scammer, Jessie knew people from all walks of life, including loan sharks. She bought famous brands, luxury cars, and mansions. Every day, she spent money like water. However, for a person with almost zero credibility, it was impossible for him to do so. The pleasure left as quickly as it came. Bang! A foot kicked open Jessie's door. A group of people entered Jessie's house. As soon as Jessie saw them, she immediately wanted to escape through the window. But the group grabbed Jessie's hair and dragged her to the ground. Jessie, why are you so panicked when you see me? Jessie looked at the loan shark bitterly. Hi, Luca. But Luca wasn't in a good mood to greet Jessie. He grabbed Jessie's neck with one hand. Jessie, did you forget something? Luca, you're hurting me. You borrowed money from me 2 days ago. Yeah, what's wrong? But you haven't paid back the first interest, Lucas said. How did loan sharks in America collect debts? First, they gave a sum of money. Then, they asked the borrower to pay back a sum of interest within a set time. They didn't have to pay back the principal first, but the interest had to be paid back on time. Although the current loan sharks didn't have compound interest, the interest rate was still extremely high. A loan of $100,000 with interest had to be paid back at least $200,000. Apart from the principal, there was still $100,000 of interest to be paid in installments. It was actually similar to a credit card loan, but the interest was much higher. Vaka, I promise you, I will pay you back soon. Of course, I believe you. I hope you can return the money within 3 days. Otherwise, you can go to Europe and be a prostitute. I think you can get a lot of customers. Jessie shivered in fear and looked at Vaka in horror. As a loan shark, Luca would definitely not lend money to someone who had no ability to repay. Normally, it was impossible for a female liar like Jessie to repay the debt. But Luca still lent money to Jessie just because she was beautiful. Sometimes, beauty was an asset. At this time, Jessie was already a little regretful. He had been so carefree these past few days that he had gotten carried away. However, she would rather be killed than become a prostitute. What to do? She definitely did not have the money to pay back the loan sharks. Could it be that he had to sell those 2 items now? Jesse thought that he should discuss this with Lisa. After all, Lisa is smarter than me. Maybe she can think of a way. Hey, Rissa, it's me, Jesse. What is it? I'm a bit short on money. I need some money. Do you think I have money? Rissa replied casually. I want to sell those 2 items. No, definitely not, Rissa immediately shouted excitedly. But I really need money now. Just now, Vaka, the loan shark, came to my door. He said that if I don't pay back the money, he will sell me to Europe and become a prostitute. You idiot. How dare you borrow money from Vaka? Don't you know how much he scams people? I had no choice. When Jessie borrowed money, she was also hot-headed. Spending money was too addictive, and she didn't think about the consequences at all. Rissa had a headache. Why did she cooperate with Jessie? This woman was simply a troublemaker. But if she didn't help her now, she would cause even more trouble for herself. Rissa thought about it and thought of one person. The person she used to fear the most. That person must be rich. Maybe she could get some money from him. In the past, she was afraid of that person. But after obtaining superpowers, she wasn't afraid anymore. She didn't even need to escape from Abe anymore. How much money do you want? Rissa asked. $1 million. That much? I borrowed $500,000, but I have to pay back $1 million. Actually, Jessie had borrowed $200,000, but she had to pay back $500,000. As for the remaining $500,000, she obviously wanted to continue living a life of debauchery. She was used to spending money like water. It was impossible for her to return to peace. I hope this is the last time, Rissa said in a low voice. I promise I won't do it again. Chen Zhao arrived at UCLA and stopped the car. A figure suddenly entered Chen Zhao's car and sat on the passenger seat. Dear Ms. Rissa, what's wrong? Chen Zhao turned to look at her. I need money. Can you lend me some? Chen Zhao touched his chin. Do you know what it means to borrow money from me? What? You'll be enslaved by me forever, Chen Zhao said. You know I don't like to joke, especially with people I'm not familiar with. Of course I know. Rissa nodded. How much do you need? Chen Zhao asked. 2 million, Rissa said. You're not worth 2 million. Rissa was a bit annoyed, but she still said calmly, I have a super high IQ. I passed the Mensa test and have an IQ of 168. Less than 10 people in the world are smarter than me. But you don't have 2 million. Before your IQ can be converted into money, all your abilities are worthless. Rissa's eyes flickered. She was hesitating whether or not to use her abilities to threaten him. But I can invest in your future, Chen Zhao said. If you can earn 100 million for me in the future, you'll regain your freedom. An IQ of 168 was indeed rare in the world. Chen Zhao felt that Rissa was worth 2 million. Rissa sneered inwardly. This guy is really greedy. Does he really think that 2 million can control me forever? Okay, I agree. Give me a bank account number. I'll transfer the money to you. Don't you need an IOU? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.